Noon. Today is September 20th at 5:30. I want to welcome everybody to the City Council meeting for 5:30. This is Councilman Michael Tobias, District 6, standing in for Mayor Travis Mitchell temporarily. We'll go get have our City Secretary give a roll call, please.
Mitchell, Rizo, Flores-Cale,
Here.
Bradshaw,
Here.
Parsley,
Here.
Tobias.
Here. Looks like we have 4 council members here, so we do have a quorum. So next on the agenda, we have the citizens' comments period with the City Council. City Council welcomes comments from citizens early in the agenda and special meetings. Those wishing to speak are encouraged to sign in and before the meeting begins. Speakers may provide an opportunity to speak on this time during period of any items on the agenda, anything concerning city business, and anything in the city retaining to agenda items. We ask that you fill out a citizens comment form and also have a 3-minute time limit. Right now we have citizens. We're going to go ahead and open citizens comment. If anybody would like to speak. Seeing that we have nobody to come up to the podium, we are now going to go on to the executive session.
I can do it. I can practice. Okay, I'll go ahead and practice. Pursuant to Chapter 551 Texas Government Code, the City Council reserves the right to convene into executive session from time to time as deemed necessary. During this meeting, the City Council may convene into executive session pursuant to any lawful exceptions contained in Chapter 551 of Texas Government Code, including any or all of the following topics: pending or contemplated litigation, or to seek the advice of the city attorney pursuant to sections 551.071, Joe Brooks, C220099, Julia Parker Family Partnership, and the L.W. Parker Family Trust, CW0104, legal advice regarding the use of bond proceeds. 2, possible purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real estate pursuant to section 551.072, to deliberate the purchase of real property for public purpose. Number 3, personal matter pursuant to section 551.074, Interim City Manager. 4, convening to executive session pursuant to section 551.087, Texas Government Code, to deliberate regarding the offer of economic incentives to one or more business prospects that the city seeks to have locate, stay, or expand near the city. Project Midnight Blue, Project Brown Bear, and take action on items discussed in executive session.
We are now in executive session. Okay, we're going to reconvene back in. We just now finished executive session. No action was taken. We're going to go ahead and close executive session. Make a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to close executive session. Second, can I take a roll call, please? Or just actual vote? All this in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those say nay. It passes. We close executive session. Now we're going to roll over and going to start the special called meeting at 6:30. Good afternoon, good evening, everybody. And it is September the 20th. And I want to call this special council meeting to order. If I can go ahead and have the city secretary do a roll call.
Okay. Mitchell, Rizo, Flores-Cale,
Here.
Bradshaw,
Oh, I'm sorry, here.
Parsley,
Here.
Tobias.
Here. Looks like we have a quorum. We have 4 people here, 4 council members. Next, I'm going to go ahead and open up citizens' comments period. This is where citizens are able to come up and speak on agenda special items, especially items that are going on in the city. Those wishing to speak are encouraged to sign in before the meeting begins. Speakers may provide an opportunity to speak during this time period for any item on the agenda, any concerning business, city business, and they may observe a 3-minute time period. Also, make sure if you can go ahead and make sure you have a form filled out and sent it to the city secretary. I will now open citizens' comment for this special meeting. If anybody wishes to speak. Okay, I'll go ahead and close special comments, citizens' comments period. Next up on the agenda is going to be presentation, proclamation recognizing Michael Tobias as Officer of the Year. Actually, will be for CLEAT. This was Mayor Pro Tem Robert Rizo's item, but he is unavailable this evening. So we're going to turn it over to Councilmember Yvonne Flores-Cale.
All right, thank you. All right, a proclamation of the City Council of the City of Kyle, Texas, of Council Member Michael Tobias on receiving the 2022 Combined Law Enforcement Association of Texas, CLEAT, Officer of the Year Award. Whereas Michael Tobias, a son of Kyle, began his law enforcement career 19 years ago. Whereas Michael received a certificate of appreciation for outstanding performance and support while serving as class president while attending the correction officer's basic training. Whereas during his career as a Travis County Sheriff officer, he served with honor and distinction. Whereas Councilmember Tobias serves with the same dedication and resolve as a Kyle City Council member for the resident of District 6, now therefore be it proclaimed by the City Council of the City of Kyle, Texas, that Michael Tobias is the 2022 Officer of the Year.
Thank you so much, everybody. As I mentioned before, I'm very humbled by this award that I got from the CLEAT, the Combined Law Enforcement Association. I've been with the Sheriff's Department, Travis County, for over 19 years, and been a CLEAT member from them from 19 years as well. I also served on the Travis County Sheriff Association Board from 2016 to 2020. For 4 years. It's been an exciting career that I've had. Receiving that last weekend, the day before 9/11, and then being recognized as well as surprised on 9/11 at the Heroes Memorial for First Responders, and being a hometown kid growing up here in the city to get that recognition, it meant a lot to me. And it's been a very rewarding career, and I really appreciate it very much. There's a lot of people that I would also like to thank with that. Along with my wife Teresa, I wanted to let her know that I really appreciate it and thank you for being by my side during this crazy and challenging career that I have. To my children, Michael, Andrew, Matthew, Natalia, thank you for being there for me and supporting me, especially on city council as well for these many years. I'm sorry for some of the birthdays that I missed, or maybe events that I didn't make through the years because I was on duty. That's just what we do on that end and so forth. Mom and Dad, thank you as well for all your support. And I know sometimes Mom still wants me to retire from this place, and she's done with this law enforcement career, but she's very proud of me. My brother and sister, Stephen and Ana Maria as well. I want to thank all that. Another reason why I had won this actually was recognized is last year I suffered an injury that some of you may not have known, that I had an on-the-job injury where my hand was crushed and I had my finger severed off. And it was pretty devastating for me because I didn't know if I'd be able to use my hand again, and I thought that was a career-ending injury that I had. But with therapy and the people at Scott and White here in Kyle, Mila was my therapist, and she encouraged me to keep going. I was able to regain a lot of my strength back and be able to get back on duty, which I'm very proud of. So with that, I want to just say thank you to everybody, including the citizens of Kyle who have seen me through the years and recognize the work that I do, especially also in law enforcement, and to my other fellow officers out there. Thank you for your support as well, especially for me being here on council. It is a true honor. Thank you very much.
We can get family up here too, Superintendent.
1, 2, 3. All right. And would y'all like to do one with the
Yes,
family?
we can do it with the family, if you don't mind.
Oh, sorry.
We can do one down there. Mom and Dad.
All right. Would the family like to come down?
You want everybody up front?
God wills. All right. Y'all get all centered. All right. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. All right. Good job.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. And with that, if there's anybody that would like to get some refreshments, there's some out there on that end. Okay, and with that, I'm going to go ahead and close this special meeting. Going to go ahead and get a motion to close. Make a motion to adjourn. Yep. We have a first and a second for adjourn. If I go ahead and, for those who approve, say aye.
Aye.
Those say nay. All approve. We are adjourned. Start up here in about 1 minute. Wait for the tape to start. Good evening. 7:03. It is 7:03 on this Tuesday evening, September the 20th. I'd like to go ahead and get this City Council meeting in order. I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself. This is Michael Tobias. I'm with District 6. I'm sitting in temporarily for Mayor Travis Mitchell. If I could have the secretary read the roll call, please.
Mitchell. Rizzo. Flores-Cale.
Here.
Bradshaw. Here. Parsley.
Here.
Tobias.
Here. We have 4 council members here. We do have a quorum. Our Travis Mitchell, our mayor, is en route to the meeting. However, I'd like to make a motion to excuse Mayor Pro Tem Robert Rizo for the meeting. He
Second.
has a family member, member that may have passed away, so we want to issue our condolences.
Second.
Okay, there is a motion and a second. Second. Okay, those who approve the excuse, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, it has been approved. Next up, we have the approval of the minutes. I'll go ahead and approve the minutes. City Council special meeting minutes for September 6th and a regular council meeting for September 6th as well.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes for special meeting September 6th and same day for the regular meeting. Can I go ahead and approve for those? Say aye.
Aye.
Those say nay. Motion approved. Next up, we have citizens' comments period. This is an opportunity for individuals to come up and speak on behalf of any items that are related to the city. Also, any items that are related to the agenda items. Those wishing to speak are encouraged to sign in before the meeting. Speakers may be provided an opportunity to speak during this time. on agenda items and other items or concerning city business, and they must observe the 3-minute time limit. At this time, I'll go ahead and open up citizens' comment for those who wish to come up and speak. Okay. I missed one item. I'd like to go ahead and let's go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I missed that item. It wasn't on there. I apologize for that. Still new at this. Again, I still have citizens' comments open if anybody would like to wish to speak. Seeing nobody, I'll go ahead and close citizens' comments period. Next up, I'll have the agenda order. If there's anybody that would like to move any of the agenda items up to the front. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close that. Next, we will have presentations. Proclamation honoring Hispanic Heritage Month. Again, I'll go ahead and read this on behalf of Councilman and Mayor Pro Tem Robert Rizo. Whereas during National Hispanic History Month, the City of Kyle recognizes the Hispanic heritage is American heritage, and we see the influence in most every aspects of our lives. And whereas each Americans observe National Hispanic Heritage Month by celebrating the histories, cultures, and contributions of American citizens whose ancestries come from Spain, Mexico, the Caribbean, Central, and South America. And whereas the observation started in 1968 as Hispanic Heritage Week under President Lyndon B. Johnson and was expanded by President Ronald Reagan in 1988 through the legislative encouragement and Congressman Esteban Torres of California to cover the period at which it is celebrated today, September 15th through October 15th. And whereas nearly 480 years ago, the recorded Hispanic heritage has been part of the DNA of the American culture with undeniable influence in education, public safety, infrastructure, economic development, culinary arts, and government. And whereas, in the words of Cesar Chavez, preservation of one's own culture does not require contempt or disrespect for other cultures, and thus celebrate the contributions of the robust Hispanic diaspora to include Spain, Puerto Rico, Costa Rica, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Panama, El Salvador, Bolivia, Chile, Colombia, Ecuador, Bulgaria, Peru, Uruguay, Venezuela. And whereas we are proud of the Mexican heritage that includes Native American and Spanish blood, and most proud of all the humanity, centuries of hope and sacrifice called Mexican American, Chicano, Latino, Spanish, Tejano, or Hispanic are essential to defining Texas culture and sometimes is impossible to separate Tex-Mex. Represented by the community members that are here reside in the City of Kyle, and therefore is proclaimed by the City of Kyle that we recognize September 15th through October 15th as National Hispanic Heritage Month 2022. I know that we just had our Peace and Progress event this last Friday. We had a lot of great panelists, a lot of great questions, and I want to thank council members Yvonne Flores-Cale and Daniela Parsley for being mediators to that. If you wanted to add a little bit to that.
I just want to say thank you to everybody for the grace that they showed us. We were definitely amateurs, but we had a good time. There were questions that I felt like were asked that maybe would not have normally been asked, and so it caused a little bit of like what I like to call like real dialogue. And so I can appreciate that. I appreciate everybody who came out and everybody. We had a great communications team. It was a great time, and I hope next year that we get to do it again and we get the variety of people that we got this year.
Yes, I want to second that. I really want to say thank you to our staff members. Rachel, you guys work really hard. and were so patient with us not knowing what we were doing, in answering all the questions, kind of guiding us to have it done. And I think it turned out pretty well. I enjoy the fact that the conversation was kind of fluent, and we didn't get stuck in just a question, but it was very organic. So I was really happy to see that. I have a lot of ideas for next year. Now that we did it, okay, I'm like, okay, I'm on it. So thank you so much for the help, Rachel, and all of our staff, and thank you so much to the panelists that showed up. I think it was great. I cannot wait to do it again. So thank you.
Great. Sure. We have anybody would like to come up and take a photo with the proclamation, you're more than welcome to, and we're inviting the audience members to come up as well.
Oh, there it is.
You don't have to be Hispanic.
Yvonne?
Yeah, come on. More with Mary. Come on.
Gracias. Thank you.
All right. Is that it?
We got one more. Got you.
No, I want even more. I think Harper should come over here as well.
Get called out, Harper. All right, I'm gonna take it on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you all so much.
Thank you guys for coming out.
Thank you very much. All right, next up on the presentation, we have Noah Baen from Troop 1954 regarding the Eagle Scout project at the VFW. If you'd like to come on up.
Hello, thank you. Is it okay if I use your USB?
Sure.
Or your HDMI cord thing? Awesome.
Try not to botch it up. Got to plug it in on the other side. Plug it in. Plug it in. Okay. And let's see how this works. We should have tested this earlier. F8, where is it? Okay, take it away.
All right. Oh, sorry. Unprepared.
What is the Scout motto?
How do you?
Are you an IT person? Yeah. I mean, I brought the IT guy, but, you know, anybody under 21 is better than I. So let's see here. F8. Good. All right, now you got to go to the presentation mode. Ready?
Yes.
All right. That should take you to where you need to be.
Uh-oh. Too soon. All right. My name is Noah Baen. I am a Boy Scout for Troop 1954, and today I am presenting my project proposal for my Eagle Scout. These are my project phases. First, I had to lay out the design and propose to the VFW. Next, I had to get approval from my Scout leadership, including the district chairman. And then I'm scheduling and organizing the project, capturing progress photos, and then after the project is said and done, I'm going to compile all my notes and photographs for my final report. Here's my project description. I'll be planting 2 flower beds, stepping stones, landscaping around the VFW, doing some beautification, just landscaping work around the area. And here's a picture of where I'll be putting one of the flower beds. Here's my list of material and my estimates. As you can see, I have soil bags. I'll be needing 8 to 10 soil bags, and I even have my cost estimates from $3 to $10. Same with mulch bags. I'll be needing 3 to 4, $3 per bag. Stepping stones, 6 stones, $2 a stone. Limestone blocks, 175 blocks, and there will be around $2.14 a block. and then various yucca plants, because that was what was requested from the VFW. And then maintenance-wise is I'll be taking care of it myself, as in watering the plants and just checking up on it. And also, the VFW has the BSA Girls Troop that meets there, and they will be taking care of maintenance as well. And that is it. Thank you, guys. I want to thank you for having me and for the opportunity to present.
Thank you. So when do you think you'll be able to get the project up and running? What other steps you
We
got
don't
to
have
take?
we don't have a date exactly, but whenever I'm available. My school just started and busy guy, but I want to get it done as soon as possible, honestly. So I can do any maybe starting October, December-ish.
Okay. All right. Great. Well, I appreciate what you're trying to do, especially for the VFW. I'm sure it'll make it look very beautiful. We appreciate your service in that end.
Yes,
Anybody
sir.
have anything?
Yes, sir. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right. Next up, we're going to have the update on the reclaimed water master plan. It'll be Leanne Barber, city engineer.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Leon Barba, City Engineer. Tonight we have Stanley Fees with Cobb Finley. He'll be making the presentation on what the status is of the project.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Stanley Fees with Cobb Finley and Associates, and been working on the reclaimed water plan for a while. Am I pushing the correct button? Oh, this one up here. Okay, gotcha. All right. The purpose of the reclaimed water master plan was to review the existing and the proposed reclaimed wastewater infrastructure that y'all had in place, and from that, develop a master plan for using the reclaimed water system. And another item that they were tasking us with was to assist the city in developing a separate utility system for the reclaimed water. For the background, we started off with reviewing plans for the existing purple pipe infrastructure that the city had already put in place, as well as the permitted developments that were installing purple pipe as part of their development projects. We did a review on the SB report on the existing reclaimed water system, and we also reviewed the Plum Creek contract and their usage data spreadsheet to make sure that we could accommodate their uses. As part of that, we performed site visits with the Plum Creek Golf Course. We met with representatives. They took us on a tour of their pump station that they have there, as well as the intake and discharge locations. We did a site visit to the wastewater treatment plant to visually see what the effluent pumps looked like and where they were stationed. And we also had a visit with the Ascension Seton Hayes Hospital representatives. The thought there was that they could use the reclaimed water for a cooling tower water makeup, and then also for irrigation on their site. So we started some analysis initially, and we created an EPA net model and input the information from the Plum Creek demand that they currently are using. And we started doing a review and evaluation of the existing curves on the wastewater treatment plant of effluent pumps to make sure that, they were adequately sized and for our future use. And then the project kind of went on hold for a while. There were some decisions that was being made by the city, and we recently received direction from staff that the end users that they want us to work on are, and this is not necessarily the order of priorities, but city parks, construction water, would be a very good use for reclaimed water. Help take a pretty good demand off of your water system. Irrigation for city right-of-way, HOA and city green space, using it for construction of roads, for new roads that are coming in, trails, and then also irrigation for school athletic fields. The next steps in wrapping up the water plan are to determine the proposed uses for transmission and distribution, the systems that are in design currently, as well as the systems that are in planning. So that way we can make sure that we have that accommodated for it in our model. take a look at the proposed storage facilities. You will need some storage facilities in at least a few locations around the city to, make this system work. Kind of like your domestic water system. You need water storage throughout the city. Proposed pumping facilities, proposed end user needs, and then the proposed reclaimed water fee. And then we're also looking at the preliminary construction phasing plan, because the city's not going to be able to build all of this in one time. It's going to take time. So our next steps, we need to identify possible permitting requirements, which would be any roadways we would cross that are TxDOT related. So we need to work with the TxDOT Austin District, Hayes County right-of-way, floodplain areas, and then if there's anything that would be affected by the TCQ Edwards Aquifer Zone. For deliverables, we're going to provide a construction cost estimate for budgeting purposes. Our preliminary master plan draft, give city staff a chance to review it, take a look at it, provide us any feedback, and then finalize that in the preliminary master plan final report that we provide. And then with that, we'll provide a preliminary construction cost estimate. So here's what you've got for your system right now, and it may be, it's map's probably a little bit hard to see, but the existing lines are in blue and the proposed lines are in purple. So you can see that there's quite a bit more proposed than what's existing right now. And then we've got additional future roadway projects that are going to be assumed to include reclaimed water, and those are the red lines on the map. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions? I have one right off the bat, sir.
Yes, sir.
It says proposed storage facilities. Would those be tanks or would those be ponds? Or, I mean, just...
Could be either. I mean, Plum Creek is using a pond right now for their storage.
Okay.
So it just depends on availability of land and, location of where the storage is needed.
Okay, then those could be just storages, and they can be able to be distributed throughout the city to different areas needed?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, but these would be specific for reclaimed water. You can't mix reclaimed and domestic water, so it'd be their own separate storage tanks for those.
Okay.
And just like the pipe that's put in the ground for the reclaimed water is purple pipe.
Mm-hmm.
So these tanks would be painted purple.
Okay. Yep, that's all I have. Anybody else have any questions? Ms. Councilmember Parsley.
Thank you. We Plum Creek Golf Course is currently using reclaimed water to water their course, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So I'm super excited to see this happening, especially to be able to use it for our parks. Do you know about an estimate when we'll be able to use reclaimed water to be feeding our Heroes Memorial Park?
I do not have an estimate on that at this time. I mean, we still need to finish the master plan, and then, there's infrastructure that needs to get put in place to, get that far out.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
But we can put that into our cost phasing analysis that we do.
Yes, I would love to see that, just because, a month or so ago, I saw in a different city, there was a golf course that was utilizing not reclaimed water, and they were in really hot waters for using that. So I would really not ever want to see us getting to that point. So I'm very excited that we are, using the resources the right way.
Yes, ma'am.
That would be a good idea because, when we just had this drought not too long ago, correct? And we were hearing some concerns raised by the citizens about where's the water coming from or the usage.
Right.
If it's something that we could maybe keep an idea to use some of that water, reusable water for any of that, if it's something that's on the radar that we could maybe propose or look at.
Yes,
That'd be a good idea.
Sure.
Okay, Councilmember Flores-Cale.
Thank you. First, can I get a copy of that PowerPoint, if that's possible?
City staff has a copy of it.
All right. Okay, so, again, okay. And then, can we also get a list of areas that the reclaimed water is going to service?
That will be in the master plan, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you send that to me as well? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
thank you.
All right, next up, number 7, presentation of ZenCity for community engagement platform for city manager's office. This is Rachel Sonnier, Director of Communications.
I'm waiting for my presentation to come up. Hold on one sec. There it goes. All right. Hello, Council. Rachel Sonnier, Director of Communications for the record. So I'm going to be presenting the brand new community engagement platform that was recently contracted for the City Manager's Office. It was one of the approved budget items for the FY 2023 budget that y'all recently approved. So essentially, it is called ZenCity, and they are a one platform that really uses that we aggregate data that's on social, on official media, such as newspapers or TV channel news and things like that. It aggregates data that conversations that are happening about the city of Kyle, as well as conversations that are happening with the city of Kyle, and really gives us the ability to engage residents through surveys, very short, simple polls to get feedback, as well as analyzes sentiment from different various sources that residents are having. But I'm going to go into each of the three items that we purchased from their platform, essentially. So the very first item is called ZenCity Organic. Essentially, this is a dashboard that ZenCity builds using one of their data analysts that would be dedicated to the city of Kyle. And they essentially help us build out this dashboard that collects data from social media, that collects data from media sources, and just generally all around the internet, HOA groups, neighborhood groups, and kind of gives us an idea of the conversations people are having about the city of Kyle. So not necessarily conversations happening with the city of Kyle staff, but those conversations that we might not usually have any idea about from HOA groups of issues that might be arising or complaints about a certain resource or topic. So it really gives us a better idea of kind of our presence in the city outside of those conversations that happen with the city. So that's what the ZenCity Organic item is. And then the ZenCity Engage is an actual ability for us to send out short polls to city residents. So essentially, they have a data analyst help us compose these polls that can be about certain issues, certain topics, certain projects, kind of really open-ended, but we get 4 of these a year that they give us a data analyst to help us compose the polls, get it out, and we use our social channels, our e-newsletter, our website, all the kind of platforms that we already engage with city residents, but we have a data analyst that essentially helps us break down this information that we're getting from residents and actually use insights, get really active insights from it. And then I actually have a report. So with the ZenCity Engage, we have what they do, benchmarking reports. So say we have a specific issue in the city or a certain thing that keeps on coming up. Sorry, sharing my screen. But essentially, sorry, it's switching over right now. I'll give Grant a second. But essentially, they're able to generate these reports for us that really give us a great idea of conversations that are happening around the city that we're not usually very privy to or have the ability to actually see a lot of times because they're happening in HOA groups, private groups, things like that. So this is a benchmarking report. This is an example that they made for us back in July, specifically around public safety, because we had a lot going on in July. We had catalytic converter thefts happening all around the I-35 corridor. We had, I believe, a double homicide that was talked about, and then we also, I believe, had, that 18-wheeler incident on I-35 that closed down one morning. So they were able to basically peel through the information that we were putting out to the city, as well as information that was already just happening, conversations that were happening around the city, and gave us insight reports on positive sentiments from residents, negative sentiments that they were able to pull, what we were getting positive sentiments about. So, for instance, KPD hosted a free catalytic converter etching event in July that brought us a lot of positive public feedback from social media and HOA groups and people just generally talking. They're able to kind of use that benchmarking report to gauge us against how other cities that share kind of demographic sizes with us and things like that comparatively. So as you can see in the sentiment breakdown, our police and our fire departments are very positively viewed by our residents compared to, you know, other cities. That's what the cohort average factors in there that you're looking at. But essentially, they're able to kind of gauge where we're sitting with our residents sentiment-wise, you know, how we're rating public safety-wise among our residents and things like that. So they're really kind of able to break out these reports that show us specific information date-wise about whenever people were having these conversations and kind of, you know, where their sentiments were on around that, and then really give us a greater idea of what the public safety discourse is in the city of Kyle. So this is just one engagement benchmark report that they sent us as an example, but we'd be able to basically kind of get these created for any kind of specific incident that, you know, council or city leadership had concerns about, say a specific project, or even something as large as the master comp rewrite or master transportation plans or specific projects, roadways. So it's really kind of an endless engagement tool that we can use for that. I'm going to go back to the presentation, though, just so I can go through the rest of it with y'all. Perfect. So I went through ZenCity Organic. They basically use AI-powered data aggregation to really give us a better, clear look at our earned media, so to speak, with the city. So that's the conversations that people are having about the city of Kyle. The ZenCity Community Asks is our ability to really engage with the city. So that's short polls that they help us create. It's hosted on their platform, and it's very easily shareable on our website, our e-newsletter, things like that. And they actually give us the data breakdown based on demographics, all sorts of information that we really need. The next aspect would be ZenCity Engage. The best way to think about this would be almost like a virtual town hall. It's a platform where there's open public forum of debate. People can talk. You can host interactive data. So maps, they kind of build out a site for you. It's just a very, you know, diverse tool that we could use for all sorts of things. But essentially, this would be once a year that we could really use this ZenCity Engage tool that would be used for something along the lines of a comprehensive plan or master transportation plan would probably be a great one for that. So basically getting live feed open-ended results from the community as they give you information on their sentiment. I also have a ZenCity representative, I forgot to say, John on the phone. He's actually virtual because he's joining us from Florida today. But if y'all have any cities specific questions or technology or platform-based questions, he can definitely help answer those too, along with me. But essentially, this is a platform that we have been kind of trying to figure out which way to go with. And James Earp, former city manager, or assistant city manager, really started the conversations with this probably months and months and months ago. And I'm just kind of bringing it to fruition at this point. But do y'all have any questions specifically over the platform or anything like that that I can help y'all with?
Anybody has any questions? Councilmember Parsley?
Thank you. So I think it's pretty clear, but I just want to make sure. Will we be able, with those reports that we're getting back, to know where are the conversations happening?
Yes, they actually do have a location-based tool. Jean, can you kind of go into that? Do you have any more information that can be added?
And just quickly, when I say where, is like I would like to see if we know where are people engaging? Are they engaging on a Facebook,
You mean like the
platform?
location they actually
Are
saw it?
they engaging on Instagram or Twitter? Where is that activity happening? And the reason I'm asking this is because I had a conversation with a resident yesterday. And if we were to be able to obtain that information, then I would like to rely on that in order for us to be pushing information out to reach out as many residents as we can.
So do you mean like reaching out to those residents via Facebook?
Not
or-
in person. Like, let's say, are there social media groups where the conversations are being very active? Let's say on Facebook. Then can we determine this is where the conversations are happening? That means when we are gonna share information about city events or city stuff, we know this is a good pocket of, there's a pocket of people in here that pay attention to these issues, so we can reach out to them. So I would like kind of to see where are the conversations city related happening, and I guess in social media.
Okay. Do you have kind of a better explanation for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I can definitely answer that question for you. So when you ask about where, that is a great question. So the way that our platform works is that we gather feedback organically through official and unofficial channels. So official channels would be any of the social media sources, Facebook groups, any of the social media that the city of Kyle owns. We're able to pull from that publicly available data. Unofficial channels would be Facebook groups, would be Instagram, would be on Twitter, any of the social media handles owned by traditional news media and social media as well. Advocacy groups, HOAs, if it's publicly available, we're able to pull that data from there. Okay, so with that, we're taking the burden from, say, Rachel, in having to go and pour through hundreds of different groups to find out where these conversations are happening. We're actually automating this and providing a dashboard where you could actually see not only the sentiment and what are people talking about, but you also will have a list of the specific groups where a lot of this activity is coming from.
So we would basically be able to tell if we needed to, if it's a specific HOA, if we needed to
Yes.
have a conversation or anything like that, we could.
That's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Perfect. Any other questions, Council?
I do. Yeah, what would be the difference between this platform and also doing our yearly survey? Would you be able to combine those conversations with this and that? And
This specific package that we have in front of us right now that's already been approved does not involve the community survey, but it is something that we could add on if we really like how ZenCity is working. So right now, I currently do the survey out of SurveyMonkey, and we aggregate all the data as a communications team and currently go through it completely manually. ZenCity does have the ability to do that, and it is something we are looking at expanding the package to if we're really happy with the results, essentially. Oh, I'm not talking to the microphone, my bad. But essentially, that is something that is an option to expand into. It's not included in the current package, but it is something that ZenCity is capable of doing, is community surveys of that nature.
I feel that exactly what Council Member Parsley is. What are people having conversations about? What are they? I know that a lot of people go on to Facebook, and I know there's a lot of specific pages that people have, whether it's personal or just a group setting. But I think getting to the root of really seeing what really matters, not so much maybe the gossip part of it all, but to see, okay, these are the really interesting questions that I have. This is what I really want to know, and and you can get that positive feedback, and then the city can maybe interact with it a lot better on that, since it'll be on that city platform.
Yes, well, that's
Versus
the
Facebook.
beauty of this, is we will, the City of Kyle Facebook page can't interact with all groups because you would have to be a member. So sometimes, if a HOA doesn't want to accept an organization on their page, which is totally understandable, it's a private HOA group or anything like that. So sometimes it would not be possible for the City of Kyle page to go interact just because of the restrictions on the group if they don't want to accept messages or a request from that specific group, but we would know where they are coming from on those HOA groups or any Facebook group, or even if it, it's just like Everything Kyle, Texas group or something like that, which we do have access to some of those, and we would be able to directly respond to once we kind of understood where that community discourse was happening. But it would be subjective to whether that group is one that the City of Kyle Facebook page has access to or not.
Councilmember Flores-Cale. Sorry, it's weird to just jump
Can
in there.
you put that survey back up that you just had?
The report?
Yeah, that was for Kyle, right?
Yes, that was for Kyle. I believe that they put that together in July. Let me go see if I can share my page.
And that information derived from a whole bunch of different social media outlets?
Yes, so this is basically what that dashboard would really be able to give us information on.
Okay.
We could, and it could be about any number of issues or things that City Council or the city leadership was curious about. So, and I can send this to y'all if y'all would like to as well.
How real time is this? Can you go back down?
This was back in July, but the dashboard itself is real time.
Okay. Will you go to the actual numbers? Because
So, sorry,
that's okay.
right here or?
Nope, a little bit down. I think it was orange, and
Oh.
it showed the difference. Okay, right here. Okay, road safety. Did I say 7%? I just want to make sure, and it looks like the average. So on the right hand side, that's the average, correct?
Yes, that is compared to other cities,
Okay.
essentially their sentiment that they get for these same kind of items.
So this is something that council should look at probably
This is-
monthly.
I'll say this could be generated as a monthly report for different items. This could be added to the regular monthly communications report, essentially. So this is kind of the idea behind this, is it provides more actionable insights for city council and city leadership.
Okay, because I know, I just wanted to see this because everything about safety except for the officers is really low. So kudos to our officers. I appreciate them. But it looks like as council, I think there's some things that we need to do in order to make this place a little bit more, feel a little more safe at least. So.
You also gotta remember in the sense of like whenever these aggregations of data are happening, it's real time, and if homicide is
comes
announced
up,
or
yes.
something like that, people
I
are
don't
gonna have
want my-
feelings. So
I don't want them
definitely
to feel
reflect
like this ever.
that. Definitely.
So I get what you're saying. We got to be relevant with the times, but also that kind of makes me sad.
But definitely. But this is information that I think can definitely, inform us better.
Yeah,
as
we
city
can
staff
grow
and-
from that. I appreciate it. Thanks.
All right.
Can we have this sent to us as well?
Yes, I will definitely send it to y'all
Thank you.
after this. All right. Any other questions?
Councilmember Parsley.
No, I just had a question, but she kind of asked about it. Just wanted to know about the timing of it. Like, if we see that there's a neighborhood that is having a conversation about a homicide, are we gonna be alerted of the conversation happening in real time, or?
ZenCity can. They have what's called trend alerts and data alerts, essentially. So that is something we could probably work with ZenCity to set up certain trend or data alerts if certain conversations are happening, or like certain conversations are happening in extreme in one area or something
Yeah.
like that. So unfortunately, when it comes to things like that, specifically, if a homicide is being investigated in a neighborhood, it's definitely one of those things. It's going to be very real time because police will actually be out there at
Yeah.
that time, and we probably will be sending out messaging to them in real time in the neighborhood and everything. So, but we would definitely be able to basically aggregate that data and send it to y'all afterwards so that y'all kind of understood.
What happened?
Exactly.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Just one quick question.
Councilmember Flores-Cale.
Thank you. Is there, did we look at all of our options before we decided to go with this one?
So James had weighed several other software engagement or community engagement software, platforms for this. This is the one he felt most comfortable with moving forward, and just kind of passed the baton to me. We didn't go through an official bid process because it is under the $14,999 for the procurement process, but there were other platforms that were questioned and we met with and got information from, but we moved forward with ZenCity.
Were you on that panel to talk to them?
Mostly James. He passed on the top two contenders in his opinion, and we went with ZenCity. I think the other one was AMI or something like that. I can't remember.
Okay, I was just a little curious as to why this one stood out. I just want to make sure.
We really liked the possibility of adding on the community survey as a part of it. If we really liked the dashboard and we really liked the benchmarking reports and all that was available. They seem to be working with a lot of the cities around us. They work with City of Seguin. They work with City of Pflugerville, I believe. So they came highly reviewed and highly rated. So just kind of.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? All right, thank you, Rachel.
All right, thank you.
All right, next up, City Manager's report.
Mayor, Council, for the record,
Rachel Sonnier, Director of Communications for the.
Jerry Hendrix, Interim City Manager. Rachel Sonnier, Communications Director, will also be doing her impersonation of our park staff as she goes through the various projects on the City Manager's report tonight.
Usually it's Mariana, but I'm going to be standing for Mariana because she's at a conference this week. So first and foremost, recap of Heroes Memorial Park ribbon cutting on September 11th. Grant has queued up our video. That is the recap if y'all would like to watch that. But we also just really wanted to stress thanking all the city council, city leadership, the staff, the organizations such as AMVETS and VFW, and the KPD Honor Guard and TDS and all these different organizations that came together to really make this possible. Also the Hasty ISD High School Honor Choir who sang a beautiful national anthem. So we definitely wanted to thank all the organizations and people involved also. All right. Grant, want to cue up that video?
How happy would you be if you never had to pay for gas or groceries?
The best part of Heroes Memorial Park is not one thing. What makes this park special is that it accomplishes many things very well. The park is walkable, it is well designed, it is in a strategic and prominent location, and it celebrates and honors our heroes in a way they deserve.
In honor. That's why we're here today. We honor our first responders, our veterans, our brave fallen service members. They're all heroes. A life of service just doesn't happen. It starts with a special person who demonstrates a servant's heart, who loves his family, cares about his community, loves his neighbor, his country, who gives of oneself for the benefit of all. I truly believe that officers, firefighters, dispatchers, EMTs, military men and women all demonstrate this quality. They save lives. They keep us safe. They defend us, putting us before their own safety and without expecting gratitude.
This feels like a very meaningful time to be dedicating a park, celebrating our veterans and our first responders. We're on the 21st anniversary of the day my generation really lost our innocence, and a day that many brave first responders ran into tumbling towers to try and save lives. I want to give you this resolution honoring the city of Kyle and celebrating the dedication of the Heroes Memorial Park.
It is an absolute honor to be part of this auspicious occasion. I represent an organization called AMVETS. Now, most of you, even if you came here alone, are members of family. And there's something about family that's special. But this family of AMVETS is uniquely special because, in the words of George Washington, you are a band of brothers.
When I first got here, I would drive around through the old part of Plum Creek going, where'd they get these street names? And then we started looking at the history. We have old files, and we started looking at all the history of the fire department, and all those street names were the original members back in the 40s and 50s of the fire department. There's one street name in there that really hits me. It's Strawn. In 1944, J.M. Strawn joined the Kyle Fire Department as a volunteer. And in 1952, he died fighting a fire. To me, this park means a lot. He's the only line of duty death the Kyle Fire Department's ever had. and this symbolizes what we need to see.
This is fantastic. The original thinking was to have a very personal site where people could reflect and honor the flag. And big flag, big pole was important to me. As it turns out, isn't this fantastic?
I have long held the belief that Kyle can be a city that people are proud to call home and proud to come visit. My hope and prayer is for this park to be a cornerstone in Kyle for many years to come. May it serve as a gathering place for thousands of residents and visitors each and every year, from this year until long after the time capsule is opened in 2101 at the 100th anniversary of 9/11. Thank you very much.
Grant's getting really good.
I know, yeah. can't have video without Grant. No, for sure. But yeah, we definitely wanted to thank everyone involved with the Heroes Memorial Park ribbon cutting. It was a terrific event. And then moving on, we have Squeezebox Market Day this weekend. It is Saturday, September 24th from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. We have a great music lineup pretty much all day long. So we're hoping people will come out, enjoy the free all-day event, bring your lawn chairs, bring a cooler, and enjoy Mary Kyle Hartson Park. It is also a Market Days event, so we will have lots of vendors out there. But you can find more information about that at cityofkyle.com/calendar. And then on September 30th, from 6 to 8 p.m., we'll be having the Dance for People with Disabilities, the Halloween Boogie. It will be at Gemstone Palace. This is free also, and it is open to all individuals with a disability, regardless of age. We do ask that anyone that needs assistance to also make sure that they register whoever will be attending them with that assistance as part of the cap. But it is free, but we do ask that anyone that attends register. It's a first come, first serve registration. We have a cap of 300 for the Gemstone Palace. So you can register at teamsideline.com/Kyle, and you can find more information about the event at citykyle.com/calendar. And then we also have our very first Road Bond open house coming up. It is on Saturday, October 1st. It will be in council chambers. It'll start at 9:30 and go to 12:30. At 10:30, there will be a panel. That will be a hybrid panels discussion. So we will be airing it live on City Kyle Facebook, on our YouTube, on Spectrum 10, and on the KyleBonds.com website. Essentially, members of the audience will have the ability to ask questions of the panel, which will include an engineer, bond engineer, Mayor Mitchell right here, and as well as one of our tax or the financial representatives from Samco. So we are looking forward to that. It'll be live streamed, but we will also have a come and go portion where people can find out information about each individual project, because there will be 8 projects on the bond, as well as tax impact information, voter information, and a lot more. We'll have city staff available to answer questions, as well as road bond engineers. So we're really hoping we get a great turnout for that on October 1st. And then on October 15th, PARD will be hosting the Cornhole Tournament at Greg Clark Park in Ash Pavilion. It is $20 to register for a team. Teams must be made of 2 to 4 players, and everyone must be 18 years or older. It is double elimination play. I don't know what that means, but it is register only, and you can register at teamsideline.com/Kyle, and you can find more information also at citykyle.com/calendar. And then on October 22nd, we will have the Center Street Trick or Treat coming up. That will be from 12 to 3 p.m. They are currently taking vendors, so if any local businesses or organizations would be interested in being a vendor on the trail, or the treat trail at Mary Kyle Hartson Park, please go to citykyle.com/calendar and go to the event page, and you can find an application and information on how to become a vendor there. There will be a costume contest and pumpkin decorating contest as well. Nope, yes.
Can we make sure that we have more food vendors. Last year it was great, but I just remember there was long lines at the food vendors.
I'll bring it up to Mariana and Sheba. I'm not sure what they have planned so far or how many vendors they have, but we always want more food vendors. So
Thank you.
The next thing coming up is the Youth Basketball Clinic. Registration is now open for this. The clinic itself will not be until Saturday, November 5th, and it will be held at Simon Middle School. But essentially, the clinic will just basically teach fundamentals, so dribbling, left, right hand, pass, shooting, as well as condition drills. Registration will be open through October 30th or until all the spots are filled. It is $8 for residents, $10 for non-residents, and you can register at teamsideline.com/Kyle. And then we also have registration open for vendors that would like to be a part of the Santa's Arrival, as well as the 25 Days of Christmas. Santa's Arrival will be on Thursday, December 1st this year from 4 to 9 p.m. at Mary Kyle Hartson Park. We will have the tree lighting. It'll be the kickoff to the holidays in downtown. We'll also have lots of local school choirs and free activities going on for children the whole day. But we also will have the 25 Days of Christmas, December 1st through 25th. So music, pictures at the park. So if anyone would like to be a vendor for those, please go to cityofkyle.com/recreation and reach out to our recreation department to get that started. And last but not least, we have Jerry on Team Kyle updates.
Mayor Council, once again, Jerry Hendrix, Interim City Manager. It wasn't that long ago I was standing in front of you telling you who we're saying bye to, and now I'm up here to tell you who we're saying hi to. We have a number of new employees. I don't think they're all here, but Team Kyle is hiring, and our newest Team Kyle members are Lori Courtney, who's joined in our telecommunicator team, Susan Reyna, who's our new PW, Public Works Clerk, Christy Nunez and Amber Ortiz are utility billing clerks. Shay Vargas and Luis Mora are new street technicians. Austin Brennan is a new police officer. Joe Virial is our new parks maintenance technician. Ashley Gonzalez is our parks administrative assistant. Stephen Rodriguez joins our wastewater team as a technician. And Jennifer Gardinas and Shannon Boxell are new library assistants. And for anybody that's out there listening, Team Kyle is hiring. We have a great Team Kyle culture and awesome benefits. So go to cityofkyle.com and look us up. That concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Jerry.
Yes, ma'am.
I was just curious, are we waiting to hire a new city manager to hire directors? Because I know there's a lot of interims that we have, like 4, but I'm just kind of curious.
We are actively interviewing for all those director positions as we speak.
All right, thank you.
All right. Next up, CIP road projects and consent agenda presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Leon Barba, City Engineer. We'll start off with La Verde Park. Mayor and Council, you won't see a lot of change from the last slide that I presented at the last meeting. From what I understand, there's been a meeting to help encourage the contractor to start moving a little bit faster on this project. So they're projecting to complete this project on November 18th, as long as we get that production starting to move forward with that project. Public Safety Center, we're about 56% complete. Roof pavers are complete. Working on mechanical pressure test levels 1 and 2. Standing seam metal roof is going up on phase 1. They're doing level 2, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, rough end, interior sheetrock on level 2. The cast stone arched lintels on phase 1. They're working on telecommunication cable installation, wallboard inspection, and they're still expecting to complete that by February 6, 2023. There's some really good pictures of the site. Southside wastewater improvements, based on the pay estimates, we're about 95% complete. That hasn't changed. We do expect a new pay application from the contractor, so that number will be going up. That particular gravity line and force main are in a very narrow trench. They've been very slow during that project. They're working on, they had to cut the encasement pipe. We'd placed that pipe way back when underneath I-35 with the anticipation that we were going to get an easement from the adjacent property owner. Well, that didn't happen. So because of that, we had to change our alignment on the project. So we're having to do that right now and cut that pipe, which is not a very quick project. Again, we're working a little bit slower pace, but we got to watch out for safety. The picture on the left shows you a good example of what can go wrong. They do have the trench protection there, but you'll notice the cracks there in that road construction area. That's not a good sign, so they're having to take that out, and they're going to have to backfill it again. But that's the importance of having safety trenches in those areas. And again, that casing that I was talking about, you can see where they're down in the trench, cutting that casing just so they can make the connection to the sewer line. On the treatment expansion project, based on our pay estimates on the dewatering facility, we're about 74% complete. They're still working on they're actually complete with the plant 2 modifications, and is scheduled for testing the week of September 26th. Because of some delays in supplies and materials, we pushed the completion to October 2022. PEC is out there installing the power to the dewatering facility, and we're still waiting for them to give us an updated schedule on that. The interplant roads, or the roads in the plant, are being excavated. Let me dwell a little bit on that last bullet. As you may know, we have asked TCEQ to expand our permit from 4.5 MGD to 12 MGD. This second notice is a meeting that they've looked at our permit application, they've agreed with it, they've added new requirements to it, and they're letting the public know that this is what the city's going to have to be complying with as we go to up to 12 million gallons per day on that plant. But we expect to see some results or some comments or some approvals back in about 45 to 90 days. This is where our road construction is going on. We did have a visitor, unexpected to say the least, at our plant. They kind of dropped in on us, and apparently the winds took them there, and that's where they landed, in the plant area. Elliott Branch Interceptor, we're about 74% complete. We will update that as soon as we get the new pay application. We still have some road closures in there. We are doing some reconstruction on 3rd Street. We're getting ready to have that start paving on that. I think the date that I saw was October 10th is when we start paving in that area. We still have to put some curbing in there, so that's going to slow us down. We have been listening to the residents. We had some complaints, as we would expect and we expected, and our project manager is jumping on those very quickly and responding to those citizens as fast as she can. Bradford Meadows Lift Station is gone. That's one lift station we can get rid of, and like I said, every lift station we get rid of is just a big plus for the city, because that means we don't have to worry about the maintenance, we don't have to worry about the electrical bills, and when they do go down, you have to replace the pumps. Those get very expensive. So this is actually the 3rd lift station that we've taken out within the last year, so that's a good sign. The downtown relocation of overhead lines, as I mentioned at the last meeting, PEC is finished with the work they've done. Spectrum is looking at possibly charging us for some of the work, so we're waiting to see what they say on that. We're still thinking about 3.5 months before they complete their project. We just got notice that Frontier is going to start their work this week, which is good news. We weren't really hearing a lot from them, so we did hear from them this week, so they are starting their part of the work. So again, they're expecting to complete that sometime September or December. Old Post Road, we're working on the final lift of base there on the north end, and then we're going to start paving hopefully within a week on that, the last 4 inches of mix on top of that. And then after that, we'll have 2 more inches of mix on top of that. Indian Paintbrush Lift Station, we're about 9% complete. They poured concrete in the wet well. Footing slab was installed. You can see the pictures there where they placed the steel, had the pumps in place, and then we're actually finishing out the concrete, and you can see the final product in that last picture on the right. One item I wanted to dwell on again too was the pipe bursting. Pipe bursting is something we have not done here in the city of Kyle. It's a routine process in other cities that I've been in or worked with, but what they do is they take, in this case I believe it's a 12-inch line. We're going to take a piece of equipment, and it's going to be expanding that pipe up to a 12-inch pipe, 18-inch pipe, I'm sorry. And so what it does, it saves us excavation cost, and it's the first time it's been done in the city of Kyle. So we're kind of looking forward to that process and see how it works. And it is a little bit cheaper than open excavation and having to dig up the whole area. We have some consent agenda items. This consent agenda item number 11 Just to let you know, they're taking from Colors Crossing to just north of Marketplace, about 700 feet. They're going to reduce the speed limit from 60 to 50 miles an hour. And then and the rest of that section of 1626 from Marketplace back to I-35, they're going to reduce it from 55 to 40 miles an hour. So I talked to TxDOT and I said, how soon would that happen afterwards? They said that as soon as we can get them a copy of the signed ordinance, then they will have that done within a week or two and have those signs removed and replaced with the new signs. Colors Crossing and Kyle Crossing traffic signal design, that's a consent agenda item number 12. That's a task order number 10 to CP&Y to complete the design, construction, and contract administration for the intersection at Kyle Crossing and Colors Crossing. Elliott Branch Interceptor change order. This is number 13 on the agenda. This is a significant the change order. I don't like seeing these, but in this case, we had some issues with the work that was done out there as far as the original plan was to do trench repairs. And based on the amount of work that we saw out there, we decided to ask them what would it cost us just to completely rehab these roads and just put back in 8 inches of base, 2 inches of hot mix. What would it take to do that? And these are the numbers that we got from them. The section on 3rd Street was already in the plans to do it that way. So this section of Sledge Street was not. They were just going to repair the trenches. And so we asked them to give us a price for that. And this is the price we got. So it's a pretty significant price. We also asked them, instead of doing trench repairs in other sections, to look at just milling it out a couple inches and putting hot mix back in. So that's the reason for these large numbers. In addition, there were other little changes. We added about $35,000 for water line that we wanted to add onto the pipe. So the scope of work did change on some of these things. Any questions?
Councilmember Flores-Cale.
Thank you. I have two. My first question is, when was La Verde scheduled to be completed originally?
I'd have to look at that, Councilmember, and find out what that date is. I will do that.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a date?
Before HMP, I believe, like June, something like that. Yeah.
And do we have a finished date now? Do we have a complete?
Pardon?
Do we have a complete date now?
I think they were talking.
I think you said November 18th.
Yeah, you
I think I said November.
November.
November 18th.
Okay. And then, so for agenda item 13, it looks like some of the contractors used heavy equipment on that road. Is that correct? Did any of them, is there going to be any credit or reimbursement of any type for the destruction of that road?
We got a credit back for the trench repair as part of that change order because we wanted them to reconstruct it. We do not expect them to reimburse for that amount, for that project.
Okay, how much is the credit that we're going to receive?
About $15,000.
Okay. Okay, and where is this money going to come from?
Our wastewater impact fees.
Okay, and is there you go, Perez. I just have a question for him.
Mayor and Council, for the record, I'm Pervez Mohit, City's Director of Finance.
Okay, thank you. Are we gonna, can you tell me how much will be in the account after we pull out the $570,000?
Close to about $8 million.
That's it. Thank you.
Councilmember Parsley.
I do have a question because I got a resident reaching out regarding the internet company. I just lost the name again. Frontier. Have they already started the process of digging the boxes? And the reason I'm asking is because there is a resident saying, expressed concern that they need a point of contact to make sure that whatever they're digging and whatever they're placing the boxes, they're gonna, if there is any damage to any other communication system, that they're gonna be able to fix that up. I thought that they were supposed to reach out to HOAs and residents to let them know. I don't know if that has happened with the contact information. So if you have that, I would like to have it just so I can share it with residents.
There is a contact person. Usually I check with Public Works. They can get in touch with that contact person. I did get a call also from a resident concerned about some of the damage that had occurred out there. I put them in touch with our contact at Public Works, who put them in touch with the Frontier representative.
Okay.
Yeah, and the Frontier has a contractor working out there, so they need to go directly to the contractor and get them to correct the issues that they've got out there.
Okay. So if a resident has questions, to contact Public Works?
Or me, I can put them
you.
in touch, either way.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have mine, but I can wait for the consent agenda.
Okay.
It's going to relate to 11 and 12.
Okay. Well, do you want to ask those now, or do you want to?
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay, so number 12, let's go back. Number 12, it's to in the amount of the preparation for construction phase estimates for installation of traffic signals. Okay, was there a traffic study done there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we've got that covered there, because I know we're talking about doing traffic studies in other parts. So the traffic study's been done. So this is what the amount is looking at, and the approval for reducing the speed limit, I can guess it's going to concur, so that way if the lights get installed or when the lights get installed, it'll slow the traffic down. That is a perfect location for that, because several months ago I stopped at a stop sign and I nearly got hit. And so I'm glad that we're looking into that crossing section right there, because it is pretty dangerous, because it's pretty wide, and maybe not a lot of people don't see those small little stop signs. So I just wanted to make a comment on that. But a traffic study was done on number 12. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Does anybody have any items that they want to pull from consent?
I have one for 15, if I could just have clarification.
Okay.
I have 21.
Anyone else?
Oh, and 23.
All right. I would like to make a motion to approve consent agenda, all items excluding 15, 21, and 23.
Second.
Motion by the mayor, seconded by Councilmember Tobias. Is there discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion carries 5-0. Next up, agenda item 15, resolution authorizing application for a grant for ballistic shields for Kyle Police Department. This is Mr. Paiz-Tabash's item, pulled by Councilmember Tobias.
Yes, sir. Mr. Tabash. Referencing the grant verbiage on here, second line, it says, the city council agrees that in the lieu of event of loss or misuse of office of the governor funds, the city of Kyle assures that the funds will be returned to the office governor. Could you verify what that means as far as what the term loss or misuse means in this particular item?
If funds are not used to purchase bullet-resistant shields, as the grant stipulates, if they're used for any other purpose or no purpose at all, we would give the money back.
Okay. Any other questions? Motions?
Mayor, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to approve consent agenda item number 15 as written.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Tobias, seconded by Councilmember Flores-Cale. Is there discussion on that motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Next up, agenda item 21, approved Taco Bell site plan, 0.867 acres, one commercial lot located at 1750 Veterans Drive. This is Mr. Atkinson's item, pulled by Councilmember Parsley.
Thank you. I was trying to really understand the drawings, and I was having a hard time locating where the Taco Bell is supposed to go. Is there any way you can explain to me or show me, please?
Are you, yes ma'am, Will Atkinson for the Director, Interim Director of Planning. Are you asking about geographically where it is, between, like, along Veterans Drive somewhere?
So,
or?
Is it going to go between the Walgreens and Sonic?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That's it.
That's all I needed to know.
Okay. Any other questions, motions?
Mayor, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to approve item number 21 as written.
All right, motion by Councilmember Tobias, seconded by Councilmember Bradshaw. Is there discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed?
Nay.
Motion fails, 3-2. Y'all are aware that, well, okay. Yeah.
May I ask, you said it was a 3-2 vote, and it failed?
Yeah, it takes 4 votes to pass something. So, Paige, do you have comments on this? All right. Next up, agenda item number 23, approve an extension of contract with High Five Promotions in an amount not to exceed $18,000 to expire September 30th, 2023, with no increase in rates and service charges for YouTube optimization and maps management. This item is Rachel Sonnier's, pulled by Councilmember Parsley.
Thank you. Hey, Rachel, I was trying to understand what is the scope of work for their contract, if you wouldn't mind explaining to me.
Definitely. So we've been working with High Five for several years now. Essentially, they are who takes council meetings that get put on YouTube. They put them on a playlist. They timestamp them. So if you want to look for, like, you know, when this specific item happened, you can just click on it, and they put all the information from the agenda into the description and transcribe it for YouTube CC captions for us. They also help with our SEO optimization, so City Kyle search results come to the top on Google and claim Google places for us.
Thank you so much. I would like to make a motion to approve item 23.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Parsley, seconded by Councilmember Flores-Cale. Is there discussion on the motion?
Just real quick, I've used this before, and it's really helped, especially whenever we had residents go over specific agenda items, and it's going to 11, 12 o'clock at night. I can go ahead and send them the queue as far as the time, and they can go from there.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. Motion carries 5-0. All right, next up, agenda item 25, discussion and possible action regarding locations in Kyle that qualify and gain additional safety from pedestrian crosswalks / light to include school zones. And then Mayor Pro Tem Rizo had an item that seemed like it was similar, so that's I was going to pull them up together, but he's not here, so.
He's asked me to put some pictures up for him.
Okay.
That's okay.
Well, I'll just pull his item up as well, then discussion and possible action regarding crosswalks on Center Street near Wallace Middle School. Councilmember Flores-Cale.
All right, thank you. So what I'm looking for, if we could scroll through to the PDF that has the idea of kind of what I'm looking for. So I know, just one more. There should be another one. I know that when we took the stop sign down over by Silverado, it kind of caused an alarm for the kids that walk over there. And more so, I dropped my kid off at school over by Fuentes. And so I've noticed that the pedestrian walkways are dangerous in the sense that even the crossing guards get kind of nervous when they have their sign and they're crossing 3 lanes of traffic. This is, I think, you guys keep going through the same ones. There should be one. I sent one earlier to Jennifer, yesterday, I think, as my backup material. And then I think it was sent out to council as well.
It had signs that had crosswalk and pedestrian lights.
Do you want me to resend
Examples of lights.
Okay, so what I'm looking for is like, I'll resend it to you. They are, it's a light that goes across each road, and then you would push, it would blink when it's pushed, yellow, and then it would give it some time, and then it would turn red. And so ultimately, it's a kind of like a light, a crossing light, like a street light. I don't know what to call them, but it's only used when there's somebody there to walk across the street, and it gives a little bit more safety and protection because there's a blinking red light. I'm going to try to resend that to you, Jennifer. Oh, do you? Okay, thank you. All right, here we go. So these are used in Austin. Or there's some over in Westlake, and they work really well. It's not often that I have to stop to let people walk by. Usually it's just during school times, but in addition to school times, it's also nice when you have people. I was walking, and I don't know how much we can do on Center Street because I know that's a TxDOT road, but I was hoping to be able to have staff kind of figure out roads that this could be useful in to control traffic. I didn't know if that was something that they would be interested in doing for me. And so ultimately, that's what I want to do. I want to put in these crosswalk signs that blink in different areas to make the crossing a little bit safer.
Anybody have thoughts? Councilor Tobias.
Yes, I know where you're going with this, and I agree with you. We had the conversation. There are some like this in Austin. I've seen some in San Antonio as well, right by some of the charter schools and some of the private schools out there. What it does is it actually gives a more visible feature for cars that are going, especially in some of those streets that had a 40-mile-an-hour speed limit. It helps in a sense because you could be able to see it from high above and it's flashing, especially on the one on 8th Street by the APD building. It's a crosswalk. They press the button and then literally the lights start flashing red, okay? And then it basically just tells you that somebody's crossing, and it gives it about a good 15-second, whatever it is, window, and then it starts to blink as far as like using caution, then it turns to yellow, and then it turns off. Councilmember Flores-Cale and I had some serious conversations because, of course, when we're talking about BB Road and AC, especially by Fuentes, especially by other areas like Wallace, we have a large population now of people on the road that are going over the speed limit, especially around the school zones. So we're trying to find out ways to where we could be a little proactive in looking at finding safety features for these street lights or lights that can give drivers more visibility that a pedestrian is nearby. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Hendrix, does the school districts have any say as far as, like, I know when it comes to their flashing lights, like slow down 20 miles an hour and so forth, is that under their direction as far as their funding, or is that also part of the city?
Pervez or Harper can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the city that installs those and maintains them and pays for them. And we work very closely with the school district, and I think what I'm hearing is we probably need to have some staff sit down with some school district folks, identify areas that could benefit from appliances like these, and then develop a plan to install them. Point out that there's nothing in this year's budget to pay for these, so we'll have to do a cost analysis and go from there.
Sure. I'd like to hear what maybe if Harper has any feedback on what he sees when he drives around. I know with his crews, especially during school hours. What would be your thoughts on that, sir?
Council Mayor Harper Wilder, Public Works Director. I think in certain situations it's a good idea. The only thing that you need to be aware of, when you have those kind of pedestrian devices, there's usually a receiving point. In the areas that y'all are discussing, there's no receiving sidewalks. There's no safe place to send them once you put that up. So you're putting up a type of control, but you're putting them across the street in a yard, in a drainage ditch, or on private property, or the middle of the roadway. So I think that's a bigger picture that maybe could be captured through like the Center Street improvement project, something like that, where they're going to go in and redo all of Center Street and include that in that project. But if you don't get some of those side streets with sidewalks in, then I think we're putting ourselves in a possible issue there.
What would be the idea of also, again, maybe not for this year's budget, but actually going to the school district areas or the schools themselves and seeing if any of those crosswalks need to be repainted, cleaned up a little bit, made more visible. I know over there by Wallace, like where I think Mayor Pro Tem's addressing, some of the paint has maybe worn off, or some of the signs maybe not clear, but it's just maybe looking at newer ideas to improve the safety of that area, especially with the amount of residents now that are here, that are driving. I can see what Flores-Cale was saying about crosswalks, people that are at the school. It does get dangerous, especially by Fuentes. I know that Mr. Espinosa can barely walk out, and you've got people that are just rushing to get through, but we got to look at the safety of the kids.
Yes, sir, I agree. I don't know if y'all are aware, but we just, not too long ago, our Public Works Street Department just did a sidewalk over here for Kyle Elementary to get the kids from the Kyle Elementary safely down to Burleson. Used to, they had to walk all the way to the Far Slimmer and then go down to Burleson, and we built that sidewalk for them on Austin Street to get them down there safely. But there's another like place that once you get down to Burleson, all the streets on the east side of Burleson, there's no sidewalks. There's no sidewalks in any of that area over there. So a sidewalk project in the future that would maybe allow a safer transition on places such as that, or on Center Street, I think that's a great idea. Yes, sir.
Councilmember Bradshaw.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Councilmember Flores-Cale, for bringing this forward. I think that these are genius. I actually think that there are a lot of locations throughout the city where something like this is appropriate. And I recently have seen a lot of foot traffic, not particularly in a school zone, but right across from the PAC through Kohlers for people going to CH&P. And so I would like to make the suggestion that we at least get a painted crosswalk there, if not, further down the road when we're looking at implementing some of these lights or some of these signs to help with that, and maybe even possibly using tourist funds to do it.
And just so y'all are aware, we painted those right before school started. Our staff did.
On Kohlers?
On Center Street. We painted those there by Wallace. We painted those right before school started.
You're switching gears. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we are out there doing those things, but it's a repetitive, depending on the traffic and whatnot, and a lot of those don't last, and it's a repeated process. So having something different like this, is a possible solution, provided you have a safe route for them to go afterwards.
That's a good point, Ms. Bradshaw, especially in that area where you're having the restaurants that are coming, and then also with the PAC Center itself, when you have activities there, especially during the holidays, people want to cross the street and they can't because there's no parking. They'll have to park across the street, and also you want to have something visible for in the evening as well. That's going to be a heavily populated area for tourism.
Councilmember Flores-Cale.
Thank you. Let me say, I did not want this immediately. So my goal was to gather the information so next year we can try to put it in the budget. We need it. I get it. We need it right away. But I don't want to give that undue burden to staff. I know you guys are already busy, and I feel like if we want to do this right, we have to consider everything that you guys have to say. So what I would like to do is I'd like to direct you guys to bring back locations in Kyle that qualify and can gain additional safety from pedestrian crosswalks and lights to include school zones. But I would like it to be all over the city. And then I'm not saying we're going to do it all over the city next year, but maybe over time we can add these crosswalks to the city is my goal. So that was a motion.
Citywide? I'm just making sure and clarifying. Are you talking the whole city, address every single place?
Yes, that would be my ultimate goal, is to make sure that, and that doesn't have to all be done. Maybe we can say, okay, we'll do this side or that side, or one side on each. I'm not trying to be unrealistic. I get it. You guys have a lot on your plate, but what I'm trying to do is start now to plan for later. And so I think these pedestrian crosswalks are kind of a key to even the vibe and to walkability within the city, to make sure that we're safe. And I think they look much better than the little signs on Center Street where that just has like they get hit by cars. And so I was hoping to be able to do something like this, hopefully within the next, start it within the next year or two would be my goal.
Yes, ma'am.
And I also want you to bring back information like you just gave, like, hey, it's not going to work here, or this is going to be difficult because of this and this and this. I want to know all that. I don't want to just say, hey, do it, and then you guys are like struggling because you're like, this is going to be harder than we thought. I want you to let us know that, so then we can help you guys, give you direction on how we think you guys should, move forward.
Yes, ma'am. And that's why I brought that up about, that project, the Center Street project, because to me that would be something where you would include, maybe those short side streets and capture that with that project possibly, if that's what everybody chose.
Councilmember Tobias.
Okay, with that, I understand where you're going, and I want to know if we could be able to do it in steps. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to direct staff to look at what qualifies the additional safety or for crosswalks for funding, or to basically, what I'm trying to say is make a motion to look at gaining or doing a study for pedestrian crosswalks at school zones, starting from there at the local school zones in the elementary school, and then at a later time we can do middle school and high school. And we can start from there, and that would be a combination of 25 and 26.
Yes.
Second.
All right. Motion by Councilmember Tobias, seconded by Councilmember Flores-Cale to direct, to direct staff to look at the installation of these crosswalk signals at the elementary schools in the city and bring back a report on that. Is there discussion on that motion? Councilmember Flores-Cale.
Just real quick, can we try to work collectively with the school board to see how, even if we can match funding or we can do something with them, one, to, build a good relationship, but two, so they know the area better than anybody. So it would be great if you guys could at least reach out to the school board and ask if they're willing to work with you guys.
Yes, ma'am. Miss Jerry Scrocky, she's with the school and does many of those things. She was with us on the sidewalk project. I can talk with her.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, to clarify that, making sure we start with the elementary, and then a second phase would be middle school, and then third phase would be high school.
Yes, sir.
Just so we're across.
So are you wanting to give that as direction now, or give that direction once we look at the next one?
Once we look at the elementary, and
Right.
then just...
So it'll come back, we'll
Yes.
look at it, and then we'll tell them to
Yes,
keep
sir.
going. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Harper. All right, next up, agenda item 27, approve task order number 3 and task order number 4 to Cobb Finley and Associates, Austin, Texas, in an amount not to exceed $46,996.50 to provide traffic signal warrant studies at the Bunton Creek Road and Lehman Road intersection, and at the Bunton Creek Road and Dacey Lane intersection. The reason this isn't on consent is because for one, I had a question, because Leon, at the last meeting, you said that if we didn't do this traffic study and spend this money, that we wouldn't be able to enforce the laws, traffic laws, like a running of a red light or something like that, if we put in a signal. Are you sure that's correct? It just seems kind of strange to me, because the commentary I heard, and this is what I'm getting at, is the commentary I heard is that everyone was in agreement that those two intersections are ready for a signalized intersection. And we're ready to move forward, and this is $50,000 that we're going to have to pull from somewhere, and we're already looking at the next item of over $300,000 potentially. And so I'm trying to figure out if we have to do this study in order to proceed. It's almost like a fee we have to pay in order to put the signals in. So can you just...
Mayor and Council, Leon Barba, City Engineer. Mayor, I visited with several traffic engineers that have a lot more experience than I do in traffic engineering. And the comments were that without an engineering study, you put the city at a liability situation. The first issue is that technically may be illegal for those traffic signals to go out without an engineering study, and so they may not be enforceable. That's what I was told. The second thing is that if there is an accident there and it was not, there was no study done there, it is possible that someone could claim that the traffic signal caused them to have an accident, and we would be liable for that situation. So that's my understanding.
Can we get a legal opinion on that as well? Is there anyone else who is, I mean, is that just it? We have to spend the money, otherwise we're liable?
Like a legal opinion, we need to look at it. I know the rules for stop signs and speed limits, but I need to look at it for traffic signals.
Okay. Well, those are the questions that I have. I know y'all probably don't want to delay this at all, but if there was a way not to spend the 50 grand, I didn't want to have to spend it. Councilor Tobias.
Yep, that is why on the consent agenda item, when it came to the 1626, I wanted to make it clear if a traffic study was done, because obviously it seems like those lights need to go up, right?
It was,
And
but
then-
the context was different.
Yes.
So when we did the analysis of the intersection at Kohler's Crossing and Kyle Crossing, it was to look at it, determine what we thought it needed. There was a roundabout proposed, there was a full intersection with turn signals proposed, and then just a cheaper alternative, which is the path that we're taking, which is more temporary. But that I don't think that's what this study is intended to do. We already know what we want to do. So I just didn't see how it would be beneficial, except that I'm being told that liability. So
Yeah. So that's why I wanted to make it clear. Is it the same kind of concept about the liability part of the 1626 lights going up versus, because it seems like we're ready to go ahead and put up the traffic lights at 1626 in colors, right? And I wanted to be specific, so a traffic study was done, and you said yes. So it would be the same thing here, saying, well, no, we're not going to put up Daisy lights up. We're not going to look at that yet until a traffic study was done. If it was the reverse to say, no, we didn't do it, then what's the difference and why are we not doing that? But if you're saying that it's already been done for that side of the city, I see your point about this as well, Mayor. It's like, okay, we're ready to go on this. And so
it's money and it's
money.
time.
It's time.
We have to wait. So, Councilor Parsley.
I'm just concerned that if we don't spend the 50,000 and there's an accident, and then we have to end up paying 100,000 because somebody's going to sue the city because there was no traffic study. So I'm just trying to cover our backs. It may end up being more expensive at the end. So
Yeah, but I'm just wondering, is that what Cobb Finley is saying, so they can get this contract to go out there and tell us what we already know we want to do? I'm not saying Leon at all, but I've seen that. That's why I'm asking for, like, is that actually the case? If we didn't do a traffic study and we wanted to put up a signal, is it actually the case that we're going to incur liability?
or we don't put the signal and we don't do a traffic study.
And Mayor, I did talk to different engineers,
Okay.
different firms. Yes,
And
sir.
you're convinced, you know that is the case?
I'm thoroughly convinced without the study.
All right. Councilor Flores.
Yeah, I will say that you did tell us at the last meeting that we would need to do a study. I don't think we quite understood what that meant. I remember you know when you said that, I didn't think about it, and then when you think, I think harder about it. It's like there is a liability there, and we do want to protect ourselves. And I do want to ask Paige if you could. When you research, could you also research how long, if we do a study, how long that study is good for? So can we use the same study annually to do temporary lights, for example, during the school time? Or do we need to do one every single time? Okay, thank you.
Councilor Parsley.
Have we ever done a study in this intersection?
Yes, we have. As a matter of fact, the engineer that did the study is here tonight. She did look at the study, and it didn't quite meet the warrants for installation of a traffic signal. And what I'm thinking is, with the school being in session now, I'm confident it's going to meet the warrants. Now, Daisy, I'm not so sure of, but I haven't looked at the numbers on that one at all. Did that make sense? Or?
It does. We wouldn't be able to use that one because we did this study when school was not.
That's correct.
Okay.
It was part of the road bond projects when we looked at it.
Right. So a couple other thoughts. One is that we're designing a road intersection here. And so it's currently being considered, I think, for a roundabout, but I'm pretty sure that if the bonds are passed, the council's probably going to want to switch that to a signal anyway, especially if we do this now. So if we didn't do the study now and went forward with the road construction, wouldn't there be a signal put in then? What's the difference? You know, there are multiple intersections that we're proposing to install and improve in terms of cross intersections, and I don't think we're going to be having to do this on all of those roads, or is that incorporated into the engineering?
That's part of the engineering it's required, yes, sir.
Okay, so if we are engineering Bunton Road, and it will have what is required in that multiple $1 million project, and we are going to put up those temporary signals, do we still have to do this study now? Because this study would essentially just become, useless because we're going to be designing a complete full intersection here in just a short order, a year or two, hopefully.
The study they did not quite meet. It was close. It didn't meet. So the engineer was going to have a hard time recommending a traffic signal without it meeting the warrants. That's the dilemma they were having. But they were directed to go ahead and design it with either a roundabout or a traffic signal. And the thing is that we would have to take further studies as the traffic got more intense and through that area, then we'd have to take a traffic study and see if it's improved or not. Because it's going to increase. Traffic's going to increase through there, so
right.
It's close enough.
Yeah, and we've done traffic studies in the past, and then it recommended that it didn't meet warrant, and we went forward with the intersection anyway. And I don't believe we took on liability then just because it didn't meet warrant.
Bunton Creek at Philomena, when we took studies in, it did meet warrants, so that's why we were able to install the traffic signals at that location, for example.
Okay. Councilman Flores-Cale.
Can we use this study for any future use? Like if we go ahead and do it now, can we utilize that? I know we're doing like a road bond package, and I'm not sure if I think this one's on there, but can we go ahead and apply that? Like
we will.
Okay,
we will.
so I mean I think it makes sense to go ahead and do it now, and then that's.
Would it be applicable to the intersection that we're designing for the complete street?
I believe it would.
So
if you'd like, I'd like to have the engineer come up and kind of give her your thoughts on what they did and what they looked at.
Sure.
Okay. Carrie?
I hope you can understand the dilemma. We just don't, because we're getting ready to build out this intersection, and we're trying to solve a problem, and we don't know that we necessarily have to go this route.
I understand. Carrie Yeager with Cobb Finley. So with the traffic signal warrant, we looked at some different alternatives during the road bond program, PER, for this intersection. They came back and asked me about warranting it. We did the traffic data during the summer while school was out of session during that. It looks like we captured a lot of the commuter traffic, but you were extremely short of warranting it for an actual traffic study for signal at that location. So with the school traffic, it is probably going to warrant it. I can't say absolutely without the data, and that is my issue. Without the data, I can't say it absolutely warrants it or not.
Can you want to answer Yvonne's question about how long it would take?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
One of my questions was, if we do this study, can we utilize it in the future? Like, how long in the future can we use it?
It is, I'd have to look at the exact things, but once we have the study and it's warranted, that's location, build out the signal. If a location is warranted, it does not absolutely be recommended for a signal. This intersection's having a lot of traffic issues, traffic backup. I know the cops are out there directing traffic during the school year. And so you can use this into the future. I know one of the things they've asked me to look at is if it doesn't warrant right now, when will it warrant? When will that trigger be?
Okay. Is there like an expiration time if we do this study? Like, can we use it say if the bond passes and we can utilize it for that as well?
The lane configurations could change, and that's something they've asked me to look at, is also the lane configurations of this signal. I'm sorry. And so I don't know of a year expiration date, but I do know we're trying to see what the different impacts of different lane configurations on that intersection would be.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by the mayor, second by Councilmember Flores-Cale. Is there discussion on that motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. All right, next up, agenda item 28, consider and possible action on a quote from OMJC Signal for the purchase of portable traffic signals in the amount of $331,600.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Amber Lewis, Assistant City Manager for the record. Related to the last item at the last council meeting, y'all had quite a bit of discussion about wanting portable traffic signals. And so you have a quote in front of you for 2 complete intersections, 3 lanes of traffic. They can be compressed down to 2 lanes of traffic, but this would outfit 2 intersections, and you could start with the Button Creek Road and Lehman Road intersection, and then Button Creek and DC Lane, and then you could take them wherever you might need them. If a traffic signal went down, you could mobilize them there. I do have Dave Knapp with OMJC Signal. He is attending virtually. If you have any questions of him, he's the business representative. And then if you would approve this tonight, we would ask that you direct staff to bring back a budget amendment to pay for the purchase.
Okay. So that's kind of what we thought. I have mixed feelings about this on some levels, but does council have any questions right off the bat?
We would have to do studies each time we put these up?
I'll defer to Leon.
No.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they're lights, they're temporary lights, you're right, you're correct.
I just want to.
If we're going to put them up for a certain area, are we going to need to require a study before we even consider putting those up?
Don't get us wrong, we want them.
Can I ask a quick question to Paige? Since they're temporary lights, I'm sorry that I talk. Is there any way that we can just make a clause or some sort of ordinance that we are not liable for accidents because they're temporary and they're like to the benefit of the residents?
Mayor and Council, can you hear me? Okay. Mayor and Council, Paige Sign, City Attorney for the record. You wouldn't be able to adopt an ordinance to limit liability. That's going to be state law and the facts of the case. So, but I think we needed some information on temporary lights and the engineering required for that. And if there's a uniform traffic control manual, and there's some other resources that tell us when studies are required. In some cases, state law will tell us that. I just don't know the answer for a traffic signal. And then I need to look at the case law related to whether you have a liability or a waiver of immunity for those types of issues.
Councilmember Flores-Cale.
I would like to make a motion to postpone agenda item 28 until we receive that information. Second.
Motion by Councilmember Flores-Cale, seconded by Councilmember Parsley. We will postpone agenda item number 28. Is there discussion on that motion? Yes, I would. I also, we need to get clear on this, because I find it hard to believe that we can't put up temporary signals when we need to. We are the city, that's our jurisdiction, and our ability should be able to do that. So if there's construction going on, we're needing to divert traffic. I can think of a bunch of scenarios where it makes sense for us to put it in, and a traffic study doesn't need to be required in order for us to make logical, smart decisions. So the other thing I actually did want to bring up was there was discussion on, does OMJC have a comment on that, by the way? Because you may have more experience with. Go ahead, sir. We can't hear you. You're muted.
You able to hear me now?
There we go. Please state your name.
Okay. Yeah. This, for the record, this is Dave Knapp. I'm the business development director for OMJC. I appreciate the chance to speak here. As I'm kind of listening through this, we sell these signals. Kind of our approach to the marketplace is such that we deal with municipalities, cities, quite frequently on these signals. This would be the first time that I've heard of a traffic signal study needed by a city for liability purposes to put these up. We deal with many large municipalities around the country that we're selling these to on a consistent basis, and they're putting them all over the place at any given time.
Correct.
So I, in my 7 years of experience, this would be the first time that I've heard of that. Certainly on larger projects where there's, as you're discussing, planning out the permanent intersection, of course, then yeah, there's the studies that go along with that. But in the temporary world, this would be new to me, and my senses would tell me that there would also be liability associated to having your constituents bringing this up as a consistent issue and then, not moving on it. So I guess that's just my 10 cents from my experience for what it's worth.
Yeah, we didn't improve the intersection because we were afraid of liability. That sounds like government. Councilmember Tobias.
Just a last comment on that. We did have it at DC and BB when we had the roundabout situation. We had them up there running, and it helped. It took a while, but we did have them up and running.
Yeah, we didn't do a study.
We didn't do it. I don't think we did a study for that. We do a study for that, Leon? The county did a study for that before we put it up. Was that maybe one of the reasons why it took maybe 4 weeks to get them? That's a different story. But thank you.
Okay. All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed. Motion carries 5-0. We'll bring this back. It would be good if we could get an email on that page, just so we get it as soon as you have the answer. So. All right, next up, agenda item 29, consideration and approval of a resolution relating to establishing the city's intent to reimburse itself. And we're going to postpone this item as well, if there are no objections. It's related to 28. All right, I'm going to go to agenda item number 30, first reading, an ordinance regulating traffic, authorizing and directing the installation and erection of no truck signs on South Street from Front Street to Business 81 in the city limits of Kyle, repealing any ordinance or resolution in conflict, providing a severability clause, declaring a penalty, and providing an effective date. Mr. Barba.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Leon Barba, City Engineer. Our project manager, Joan Garcia, has been working with Federal Railroad Administration, TxDOT, and Union Pacific Railroad staff on trying to implement the quiet zone, and we talked about that a couple of council meetings ago. One of the requirements that Union Pacific wants us to do is to ensure that the median that we're going to install on South Street does not get damaged or torn up by any wayward trucks or long trucks that would happen to travel over that median. So they are before they want us to move forward on implementing the quiet zone, they want us to ensure that we won't have any trucks in that area driving over that median and tearing it up. The minute they notice something like that happens, then our quiet zone is gone. They will start blowing the horn again. So until we get it fixed or get it repaired or get it straightened out. So one of the requirements was for us to go ahead and implement a no truck zone. We did visit with the school district pretty significantly the last few days. We've been visiting with them. They assured us that they would be able to work with us on that no truck zone because they could still go through. From what we understand, their buses are about 40 feet long. And we tested for a 44-foot long trailer, and so they will be able to make it through there. We also talked to the fire department, and they're fine with what we've proposed. So we've checked with the two major users that might use that intersection if there was no trucks allowed. And the only thing that we can't really control is the large 18-wheelers if we try to go through there. There's no way that they can get through there if we install that median without either tearing up the median or tearing up the signals or the signs that would be placed there to implement the quiet zone.
Okay, any questions? Councilmember Flores-Cale.
Thank you. Is there already one kind of over there? I saw like a little median that separates the two roads. Is it going to be like that?
I didn't think there was a median there at this point in time. It's going to be right down the middle of it, and it's
yeah. Does it go like? Because I went there the other day, and I was like, when did this get here? But it's by the railroad track, and it's really hard. Like, I can't imagine that if something like that the semis are going to want to go through that.
We're putting a concrete median in, so it's about 8 inches tall, and
Okay.
it's about a couple of feet wide, so it will be a hindrance there for the larger trucks.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve agenda item 30.
Motion by Councilmember Flores-Cale, seconded by Councilmember Bradshaw. Is there discussion on that motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion carries 5-0. All right, we're going to skip 31. We're going to go to 32. First reading, an ordinance amending Chapter 53 of the City of Kyle, Texas for the purpose of rezoning approximately 5.15 acres of land to PUD for property located at 3601 Kyle Crossing in Hays County. This item has a public hearing. Mr. Atkinson.
Will Atkinson for the record, Interim Director of Planning. Let me throw this up on the screen real quick. Bear with me. All right. There we go. All right, before you have petition number Z-22-0105 for 3601 Kyle Crossing. Essentially what this request is, it's to rezone a little over 5 acres from agriculture to PUD to expand the boundaries of the existing Hays Commerce Center. The Hays Commerce Center is a warehouse and construction manufacturing zoned planned unit development that has businesses in it such as the FedEx facility and the other related tilt wall type construction in it. This request is absolutely consistent with the area around it. The comp plan allows both the warehouse and CM zoning district as a conditional use. And the Hays Commerce Center, the developer owns the adjacent property between this area that's outlined in yellow and Vista Ridge Drive already. So whenever they do develop, it'll have the same zoning, and they're going to replat that into one lot and just build another tilt wall type construction building on it. Yes,
Councilmember Flores-Cale.
Yeah, before we move forward, is there a reason why we skipped number 31?
It was requested that we were going to skip 31, 33, and 34. So.
Okay. Can I know why for number 31?
There's some additional review we would like to do to make sure loopholes are closed and that it's a strong ordinance we want it to be.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, well, I didn't mean to interrupt. I didn't want to call
To be
Port
clear,
Order.
I did not know. I was just asked.
Okay,
So.
thank you.
All right, this item has a public hearing, so if there are no objections, I'm going to open up the public hearing now. Is there anyone who would like to come forward and speak on this item? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. It is now closed. Motions?
I'd like to make a motion to approve agenda item number 32.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Flores-Cale, seconded by Councilmember Parsley, that we approve agenda item 32. Is there discussion on that motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion carries 5-0. Next up is agenda item number 35. Consider impossible action to approve a resolution of the City of Council authorizing and creating the Limestone Creek Public Improvement District in accordance with Chapter 372 of the Texas Local Government Code. This item has a public hearing that was left open. Ms. Lewis.
Amber Lewis, Assistant City Manager for the record. We are continuing to work with the developer, and we would ask that you continue the public hearing, and we hope to have something in front of you at the next meeting.
All right, if there are no objections, I'm going to open the public hearing. The public hearing is now open. Is there anyone who wishes to come forward and speak? All right, seeing none, I'm going to make a motion to postpone this item until the next regularly scheduled meeting.
Second.
Motion by the mayor, seconded by Councilmember Tobias. Is there discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion carries 5-0. All right, next up, agenda item number 36. First reading, an ordinance amending Chapter 53 zoning of the City of Kyle, Texas for the purpose of rezoning approximately 9.12 acres of land. Actually, before I go, I'm just realizing that item 34 has a public hearing as well. Do we need to open that public hearing? It was requested that we pull this item, that we don't take it up, but because it's noticed for a public hearing, we probably need to open that public hearing.
Yes, sir. We need to open it up and postpone it to a day certain.
All right, so if there are no objections, I'm going to actually go back to item 34. This is first reading, an ordinance amending Chapter 53 of the City of Kyle, Texas for the purpose of rezoning approximately 18.84 acres of land from RS to PUD for property located at approximately 400 feet southwest of the intersection of Marketplace Avenue and City Lights Drive. This item has a public hearing. This was taken up on 9/6. Did we have the public hearing and leave it open at the last meeting? Does anybody know?
Yes.
And the public hearing was left open? All right, so if there are no objections, I'm going to open up the public hearing now. Is there anyone who wishes to come forward and speak? All right, I'm going to leave the public hearing open. I'm going to motion to postpone until the next regularly scheduled meeting.
Second.
Motion by the mayor, seconded by Councilmember Tobias. Is there discussion on that motion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed. Motion carries 5-0. All right, now we're back to agenda item 36. First reading, an ordinance amending Chapter 53 of the City of Kyle, Texas for the purpose of rezoning approximately 9.12 acres of land to PUD MXD for property located at the northwest corner of Burleson and Marketplace Avenue in Hays County, Texas. This item has a public hearing as well. Mr. Atkinson.
Will Atkinson, for the record, Interim Director of Planning. Because the Planning and Zoning Commission voted to postpone consideration of this specific item until their next scheduled meeting, by default, we are asking City Council to also do the same so it can be continued to move forward.
All right.
And so to open up the public hearing and postpone it.
All right, if there are no objections, I'm going to open up the public hearing. Public hearing is now open. Is there anyone who wishes to come forward and speak on this item? All right, seeing none, I'm going to make a motion to postpone until the next regularly scheduled meeting.
Second.
Motion by the mayor, seconded by Councilmember Tobias. Is there discussion on that motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion carries 5-0. All right, next up, agenda item number 37, considering possible action to issue a request for proposals. Actually, before we go into these next four items, we need to bring back up Taco Bell. So, Paige.
Mayor and Council, Page signs for the record. After reviewing a bit, the item that is the Taco Bell item is an approval of a site plan. Your ordinances provide that if the site plan is compliant with all city regulations, it must be approved. So when a site plan comes before you in this manner, you're really serving just as ministerial administrative function. You don't have discretion. And the staff report has provided that the application is compliant. They are not requesting any variances. So the council really doesn't have discretion under the ordinances to deny that site plan. So my recommendation is that you motion to reconsider that vote, which you can do, and then reconsider the vote on that item.
So, in reference to that, who would be the one to do that? One of the dissenting votes? Or could be any one of us?
Any of us can reconsider an item, but I just, from the dissenting, are y'all going to stick with your, I mean, we will get, you know, we have to approve site plans that are compliant. It's not a zoning case.
And
So-
Mayor, I'd like to go ahead and make an motion to go ahead and reapprove agenda item number 21.
Councilmember Tobias, is that a motion to reconsider?
Yeah, first you have to reconsider the item.
To reconsider the item.
All right. There's a motion by Councilmember Tobias, seconded by Councilmember Bradshaw, that we reconsider agenda item number 21. Is there discussion on that motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
All right, we're not going to reconsider.
Can we discuss?
Yeah, I have a question. What does this mean for this, what does this mean for the city? What are the repercussions?
The applicant can seek to enforce the.
I just don't understand why we're discussing it. If it's gonna be done anyway, then why would it become to us? I think it's a horrible location for a Taco Bell. There is awful traffic in there because I live in that neighborhood. I think the last thing Plum Creek needs is another fast food place right there where they're located. I understand that it's compliant. It's just, as an advocate for Plum Creek, I think it's a horrible idea. And that's why I wouldn't vote for it. I understand it already got approved and it is compliant. It wouldn't be on the best interest of the neighborhood. to put another fast food place with a drive-through, jam-packed in a road that it's one-way road. It's just,
Right. The problem is this: it's a site plan that is compliant. So the vote that we are taking is a yes, this is a compliant site plan vote. It is not a land use vote at all. And so by right, we are compelled to approve it as a compliant site plan. If we do not, we are 100% walking into litigation.
Okay.
In order to do that, we just can't. That's not the way we need to be as a body, is to deny
I
site plans.
understand. May I make a motion to reconsider item 21? Can I make that motion?
Yes.
you
Motion
can.
by Councilmember Parsley, seconded by Councilmember Flores-Cale, that we reconsider agenda item number 21. Is there discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion carries 5-0. I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by the mayor, seconded by Councilmember Tobias. Is there discussion on the motion?
Yes,
Councilmember Flores-Cale.
my concern was with what we were given to look at. I'm not sure if people are aware that, I don't know if anybody up here is an engineer, but when I look at these plans and they're not really explained to me in a way that I can understand, it's hard for me to approve something. And it's hard for me to argue something. And it's hard for me to say I don't like something, because when I see it, it's way too complicated for me. And so it would have been nice if we had something a little bit, and I don't want to sound like a dummy, but a little bit easier for me to understand. I looked at this and I was like, oh, well, they clearly don't want me to vote for this because what they gave me was out of the scope of my knowledge. And so that is the reason why I voted no.
Councilmember Tobias.
Okay, to counter on that, are we in disagreement of the actual establishment that's going to be in Plum Creek? Is it because there's other areas that are there? If a Starbucks decides to build there, would that be a problem?
It would be a problem. I think it's a problem of traffic.
If a something of that, like a Dutch coffee or something like that. I'm just trying to just be clear on it, because I know people are going to bring it up. Oh, they don't want a Taco Bell in Plum Creek, but they'll take a Starbucks or they'll take another one, but that'll be no problem. So, but again, if it's in compliant, and if that's and they're following the rules, and the property owner is willing to sell it for whatever it is, and they're all in favor, do we have a say-so as far as we don't want that kind of business in that area?
Well, I will tell you that for many years, especially in Plum Creek, there have been site plans that have come forward with uses that I did not want to vote on many times over. But by law, we are required to approve them. It's just that simple. We're not able to look at uses and determine whether or not, if it's already got the zoning. So at the site plan level, there's just nothing that we can do. So I'm not, my vote has nothing to do with my opinion on the use. It's whether or not the site plan is compliant, and I don't study those. I go by staff. Staff is the one who has the expertise to review site plans. If they say that it's compliant, then we're required to vote yes. It's just that simple. That's why it was on consent, because it's not an item for even really for debate. And so the discussion that we're having even puts us in a position of liability when we're talking about it from the standpoint of use on a site plan vote. So we just have to be very careful and know what our role is here on this item in particular. So, Councilmember Parsley.
I just want to clarify whether there goes a Starbucks or a Dutch Brothers or a bagel shop. I think it's just a bad location. Just getting out of Plum Creek on that road that is right next to Sonic, it's a hazard in my opinion, and if you drive that, you will see it. Now, when we are going to have traffic, and I understand it is compliant and it got approved, I just think it's a bad idea, and we will see the traffic jams and we will hear the complaints from adding another retail that is going to have a drive-through when we have a gas station here, Walgreens, and then we have Sonic and Taco Bell, and I don't know what's coming on the other corner, probably some. So that's just my concern. Can come Venezuelan food, and I'll still vote no.
It's understandable. I understand that, because you're right. That traffic there is crazy. I've driven it, and that is why I said no to the stop signs, because it helps reduce some of that traffic there. But it's just, in my opinion, it's going to be just like any other development on east-west side. If the way I look at it on that end, I understand it would be the traffic there. But if they are compliant and they are following the state guidelines, you know, we have to go with whatever the regulations state and whatever is a liability for the city.
Councilmember Flores-Cale.
So I'm looking at these site plans to the best of my ability, and I see an exit only. Can you show me where the entrance to get into this Taco Bell will be?
So it's a lot that's an undeveloped lot that's between the Walgreens and the Sonic. So it's going to have a inner connecting drive aisle at the front there to the plan left, and I'll annotate right here.
So it's not going to even have its own opening? It's going to share an opening with two other?
Yes, ma'am, it's supposed to. And TxDOT also limits direct access driveways for minimum spacing distances as well.
So here's my issue with that. And I'm sure there's nothing anybody can do, but I don't know if you've ever been to Chick-fil-A. But when that traffic over there starts to back up, it doesn't only affect Chick-fil-A, it affects the whole area, all the restaurants. And so I don't know what we can do as a city to try to avoid that. But when we start to put these all these entrances in the same feeding from the same direction, I think that's bad planning on our behalf. I don't know if, and that's just my opinion. I'm not a planning director. I give me some grace, but I feel this every single time I go to McDonald's or I go to that area and I see all these shared lanes and the backed up traffic that it causes. And going back to what Councilmember Parsley said, it is going to be crazy backed up in there. And again, I can't really say for certain what I'm looking at, and maybe it will make sense, and I just don't understand it.
So if I may, from a fast food perspective, generally fast food restaurants with drive-throughs have a unidirectional circulation when it comes to drive-throughs. So as you're looking, Sonic's to the south, so if you come in from the south and you pass in front of Sonic through that drive aisle right there, and as soon as you cross into this property, you turn right, and I'm drawing it right here, you'll get into the drive-through lane right here and go around, and then getting out back into that shared access drive aisle, that's an exit only right there coming from the drive-through windows. They also have added, and they have enough room, which I'm thankful for people that need to leave the drive-through unexpectedly, so they can get out of there. It's a single lane drive-through from a food access point, but they do have sufficient access around the perimeter of it so they can get out as well. And everything is absolutely compliant. So this is following the code for the MXD zoning district. So both the mayor and legal are correct when it comes to the approval process of it. So.
Yeah, well, and I appreciate that. I don't think any of us really understood that, and so we weren't trying to do anything illegal. We were just trying to do what, to the best of our abilities, what we thought we should do. And so, yeah, it's reconsidered, and I'm pretty sure it'll pass unanimously. So we learned something new.
Well, I wish that I could give my opinion on it and vote, because I'm just generally in agreement with y'all about use of this, but it's just, there's a reason why the laws are the way they are, I suppose. So I wish that it was something different as well. So, all right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
All right, agenda item number 37, consider possible action to issue a request for proposals for professional services to assist the city manager in the recruitment and selection of the city manager. This is Amber's item. It's really sort of council-led as well. Amber is providing some help. So generally, the process would be that we would issue an RFP, a firm, if that's the direction that we want to go. We could just notice the job and let people apply and go that route. Or we could, the more common route is to allow for firms to assist with that recruitment, which just would be my preference. But do y'all have thoughts or questions? Councilmember Parsley.
I'm in agreement with Mayor Mitchell. I think that engaging a firm will be the best way to go. I think it will be great to have a city manager within 6 months, no later than that. So the faster we can do and pick the right person, the better.
Councilmember Flores-Cale.
Could we do an RFQ instead of an RFP? Because the queue is for qualifications, right? So we would have to make sure that they have like certain qualifications that I think that we are looking for.
Sure. So I'm a recovering finance director, so I don't know as much as Pervez knows about that. But from what I understand, RFQ is limited to professional services such as engineering and architecture. And so there's state law that protects them that says they don't have to provide prices, they only have to provide qualifications. All other professional services have to be a request for proposals, which includes price, and it provides the opportunity for you to consider their qualifications and price when thinking about them.
Other questions, comments? Let's talk process. So how long is it going to be, how long are you planning to have it out?
I think we could have it out for 3 to 4 weeks and have a quick turnaround, have the committee review, bring back the top 2 to be interviewed by the city council. Not different from how we did the comprehensive plan firm selection.
Yeah, and that, I was going to say that was my thinking would be to have a choice for the council, a chance for the council to actually interview these 2 firms, ask questions about their method and then we can make a decision as a group as far as who we wanted to bring forward.
So we would just, because for a minute I thought you were talking about just 2 candidates, and I was like, and we wouldn't see the rest of the applications, but no, you're saying, so the firms that would help us out, narrowed them to 2.
Right.
And then, okay, perfect.
Yeah,
I think that's a great
and then
idea.
we start the next phase, which is actually looking, there's some layers to this. So I would like to have us set to try to hire this firm in 2 meetings time. So I don't know what the process for that might look like. So
I think that's doable. I think we can turn that around.
Okay, so the intent will be for us to try, if we can, to make a selection at the second meeting in October.
Yes.
Yes.
Sound good? Mm-hmm. All right, Councilmember Tobias.
Yes, I think that'd be a great direction, choosing the firm. That way we can see what direction that they look at their candidates, right? Because different firms may have different possibilities. They may have, like you said, some are focused on engineering and different types of aspects of different cities across the country, where you have some that are just like ours that are at 60,000 plus going up, and we can be able to, they can have the right fit for the right firm to look at to see who could then go after the right candidate that would fit the needs of our city, not something to where, okay, this person over here, this firm that they go after is for big metropolitans that are over 200, 300 plus, when we need something that's basically, we're at the growth of where we're at. So I think that would be beneficial.
Exactly. They can tailor to you, this council, this body,
What we're
to
looking
what
for,
y'all want. Yeah,
what we're
exactly.
looking for, and what the residents are requesting and so forth, and have that connectivity and have that feedback.
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve agenda item 37 and to give direction to staff to bring back the top 2 candidates for council interview at the second meeting in October. Motion by the mayor, seconded by Councilmember Bradshaw. Is there discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. Motion carries 5-0. All right, next up, agenda item 38, direction to staff regarding enforcement of existing sign ordinance related to signs located in the right-of-way and feather flags. So, sorry to bring this up. I do not want to. You don't even know how much of an issue like. It's like giving me. Yeah, Tracy knows. We have an issue right now in our city, and the issue is that, and the reason I'm bringing this up is to give staff complete protection from us, because right now our sign ordinance very clearly says that you cannot have feather flags in the city, and it also very clearly says that signs cannot be placed in the right-of-way, and if they are, then our code enforcement is to pull them up. That being said, political signs can create a little bit of consternation and back and forth Right now, there are a lot of political signs in the right-of-way of every different kind of race, every different kind of perspective. And so I think staff is kind of in a bit of a conundrum about knowing what to do. So I wanted us to be the ones to give the direction to staff to pull any signs, whether it's political or otherwise, that are located in the right-of-way out of compliance with our laws. And then I also, it's been many years ago that when we discussed the feather flag situation, it basically got to a place where staff just said, we're just not going to enforce that part of our sign ordinance anymore. And so people started slowly putting up feather flags, and code enforcement just didn't enforce that section. Over time, the feather flags have gotten just completely out of hand. And in certain sections, there are feather flags that are just disrepair. They're just not, it's just, if we want to have feather flags allowed, we need to do it by sign ordinance at this point. And if we don't, we need to give staff direction to enforce the feather flag section of the sign ordinance. So my request and hope would be that for bringing this item forward is to give direction on those two things. And all the direction is to give staff direction to follow our sign ordinance as it relates to right-of-way and as it relates to feather flags. That's a motion. Second. All right, it's a motion by the mayor, seconded by Councilmember Bradshaw. Is there discussion? Councilmember Parsley. Oh, Councilmember Tobias.
Oh, just wanted to make sure. So the enforcement will come through which department? The code?
Code enforcement, yes.
Okay, sounds good.
Councilmember Flores-Cale.
All right, I got two questions. So is there anything that we can do to help the residents figure out where the right-of-ways are? So, because I hate to think that everybody just puts them there knowing it's a right-of-way. Maybe they don't quite understand. Is there something that we could provide? Say if next year, if I was running and I was like, what is a right-of-way? And I just put it in the wrong place. I mean, I certainly wouldn't do it on purpose, but I may not know.
You're saying like in front of your yard? If you had like
within the city. Like,
right.
Yeah, like over by HEB, like I get confused. I see all these signs and I was like, do they have to ask permission? Because everybody's over there.
They need permission.
Okay. But what if it's in the right-of-way? How do we know what a right-of-way is? Like the location in the city, like the different places.
Don't do it. Don't do it, Kat. Yeah, I don't know that there's an answer, but right. So you can get real draconian in the way that you do it. Like for example, did you know that the grass in between the sidewalk, if there's a sidewalk in front of your yard and there's grass in between the sidewalk and the road, that's technically in the right-of-way, and you can't put a political sign there, yet it gets done pretty much just consistently. I'm not necessarily recommending that we do that, although that is, I still think needs to be up to the discretion of staff. But mainly what I'm talking about is on our main roads where signs are being put up just blatantly. They're blatantly in the right-of-way. We need to go and we need to clean that up. If it's on a fence, we're not trying to get into the complicated, where it's kind of maybe one way or the other. There's discretion there. We're not trying to cause tons of political stir here. But what we are wanting to do is say, no, you can't put it in the right-of-way, just clearly in the right-of-way. If it's like right on the edge of the right-of-way, then that's fine. But if it's just right out in the road, then we need to take those. And that also applies to like realtors, and on the weekends they come in because I think they think code enforcement's not in, and they just put all their signs up all throughout the city in the right of way. I would love to see us send code enforcement out every one sweep every Sunday on the major roads and just start picking up those signs. Do it first thing on Sunday morning because there's probably I did a loop. I didn't go on the east. I just did the loop 16, 26. And around 2770, although that's technically not our jurisdiction, it's not our right-of-way, and then back down Center Street, and I found like over 60 sign code violations. And I was taking pictures of them all, just one right after the other, and there are some notorious offenders like Anthem and Guillen Homes every weekend. They just flood our right-of-way with signs, and it drives me nuts, and I want them to stop. But
there was supposed to be some software, some click and like submit, that we were talking about last year that would come in really handy during that time. So instead of calling a code enforcement, we could just take a picture and send it to them. Maybe that's something we look for next year too. But also going back, I really don't know where the right-of-ways are. Like, for example, the depot, maybe I know that tends to be an issue. Is there something that we can do to help the residents and the businesses understand where the right-of-ways
To
are?
me, it's in terms of the political signage, the ones that are being put out by the candidates. So the candidates they can call up City Hall, they can say, hey, is this right away or not? But they're not doing that. They're just putting stuff out there and hoping it sticks. So that's the part where I'm saying, like, we need to be the ones who lead and are clear that you can't put signs up in the right of way. And if you don't know, then you need to ask questions.
And then I had one more
Okay.
question about the feather flags.
Okay.
I don't know if it would be any more meaningful to you if you put in an ordinance untorn or unweathered ones could.
So I wrote a big update to the feather, because I was, at the time, the council was unanimously against feather flags. And I was trying to find a way to get feather flags to be made, because I had $200 feather flags in my business that I put up, and they got taken down, or I got ordered to take them down by code enforcement. And they were beautiful. It was on I-35. And it was like great. And I'm like, small business guy, and trying to get people to notice my business. And the city was telling me, so I'm like sympathetic to it. But at the end of the day, like it's already in the code that says that and that was, and I'd like reduced it one per, like how you could do it. And I could bring all that back if you want to open it up, but it is complicated, which is why it's just outlawed in general.
I mean, I do kind of feel, because like you said, it's the smaller businesses that do that. And so I would hate to take away their means of advertisement. They're probably the cheapest means of advertisement.
Right, but I mean, how much time do you want me to have to go through and talk about the problems with our sign ordinance? Because it's everywhere. I mean,
have staff bring it back,
bring back what?
updates to the sign ordinance?
They do not want to do that.
Okay.
I promise you. It is a can of worms. Staff does not want to touch our sign ordinance.
Eventually it's going to have to get looked at, right? Eventually it's going to have to get touched, or you're going to forever have this problem.
Well, but you got to engage the small business community if you want to change it. So like right now, you cannot put up temporary signage. Like if you're going up 1626 Sage, that new business that's coming in, whenever you put banners up on the sides of fences and on the sides of your business, all of that's illegal in the city. And it's up all over town. And it's 100% against our sign ordinance. You can't put it up on, you want to talk about chain link fences, you can't put signs up except by permit, and there's square footage rights, and with permission of City Hall. All kinds of rules. You should read it. Section 29 of our Code of Ordinances. It's very robust, and it's just not very well followed. And then, for example, if you want to put a big sign up, a way to get around it is you put it on a trailer. So that Sage place, that new senior living, they've got a trailer parked out there, right there with this massive sign, and it's totally not compliant with the spirit because they're using it as a permanent sign, but it's on wheels, and so that one is technically compliant. And so there's just, but what I'm seeing right now that I think would at least make a difference to keep our right-of-way better is to just have staff go out, take care of the feather flags, and that's at least one thing that we can do. So is there any discussion on that? Councilmember Parsley.
Do we charge any fee? Is there any penalty for those signs, the owners of the signs?
I don't know the answer to that, actually. I think they just get taken up, but you do get cited. I'm sure you have power to do it I don't think we ever have.
Because what I'm thinking is, can we charge a fee to the violators to get the signs back? A citation, yeah?
Pedro Hernandez, police captain, for the record. We can issue citations. Obviously, I mean, you're talking about business owners, and our goal is always voluntary compliance. So we try to take the education route. We go send our code enforcement to educate them on the ordinance, and we seek voluntary compliance. We can issue every single one of them a ticket, but you're going to hear about it.
Well,
I promise you're going to hear about it.
I'm just thinking, if we're really going to give staff direction to enforce the ordinance, then may as well just charge a fee, and then they will learn real quick.
But that'll be up to their discretion to achieve compliance.
Yeah, there's also, our staff has a lot of discretion, and there's a lot of, are we gonna cite somebody when they're within 6 inches in the right of way, or, there's always that one thing that our officers have to use their discretion, because we can't, it's nice to say we're gonna, zero tolerance, right? But, I mean, there's numerous, like the mayor said, numerous signs and banners that are in violation, and there could be small businesses, new businesses. I mean, it could be across the street. I mean, we see it, especially at election time, right across the street. We'll do what's in the ordinance, and we'll do what's asked of us. But I mean, also our staff has to have discretion.
I would say yes.
I don't ever want to take any discretion from our staff. So
I would say to your discretion, to staff discretion, that may be something that if we really want to go ahead and clear this, we might give that direction to, if you have seen somebody is not complying a couple of times, then it will be time to give a fee.
Sure, a citation.
A citation,
we can take that approach, and we take that approach with, in other code enforcement situations, so.
Something to think about.
This should serve as warning to the political folks that are out there. There's a lot. This is a big election, so that don't start filling out police reports that your signs were stolen by your competitor. They are picked up. So
our code enforcement officers do a good job of contacting,
right.
Contacting anybody who they pick up a sign from, whether it's a political sign or a realtor sign. They try to everything to do to get that sign back to them. So
okay.
And the other thing I was thinking is this is not something that we put in the package for the candidates, correct? Information on where they can put their signs and where they cannot.
In this election, the majority of the candidates are not even city candidates. I mean, we do have a ton because of District 1, but, there's so many different campaigns that are out there, and they're all violating it. This is not about local.
And I understand. I just think it will be beneficial for at least the city candidates, which we can control, to have information on the package of where they can hang their signs.
I don't think that's staff's responsibility, though. That's up to the candidate.
I just think it will be beneficial. That's all. That will be my 2 cents.
All right. Any other discussion? Jerry, are you clear on what we're asking?
Yes, sir. And I was going to suggest that we may do a press release tomorrow, give them 5 days notice before we start pulling their signs.
Okay. Any objection to that? All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you all. All right. Next up, first reading. Consider approving an ordinance adopting a policy for members of the City Council regarding city business expenses charged on the city-issued credit card and reimbursement of expenses incurred in carrying out official duties. This is Mr. Mohit's item. This item does have a public hearing. While he's coming, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to come forward and speak on this item? All right, seeing none, public hearing is now closed.
Mayor and Council, for the record, I'm Pervez Mohit, City's Director of Finance. This ordinance, I believe, will be easier than the sign ordinance. At the August 25th meeting, Council directed staff to bring back this draft policy. And if you recall from that discussion, I was asked by Council to incorporate the changes recommended by the Council-appointed Citizen Committee on Council compensation. They made some recommendations to be incorporated in the policy, and I have included their recommendations, and that basically addresses outgoing council members, whether their term is complete or they resign. So that has been incorporated in the draft ordinance. And it's up to council now. You have a draft before you. If you like to go item by item, or if you want to appoint a subcommittee of the council, however you would like to proceed.
I think it's pretty good. frankly, I don't know that we're going to need to do all that. I have one or two things I would like to discuss. So, number one is that committee, I don't know if they made it in terms of an official vote, but it is something I want us to bring up. The way that this policy is written, each budgeted item within our budget there's mileage reimbursement, there's food travel, there's books and subscriptions and things like that. It was recommended from that committee, or at least from the chair of that committee, that our policy be that if there is one item where we exceed the budgeted amount, but there is capacity within the other items, that it would carry over. I believe that's consistent with staff policy as well, in terms of how they deal with these types of things in their budget. So, but that's not what's written in here. What's written in here is that each individual item is a hard cap. And so if one person is using mileage reimbursement more heavily than someone else who might be using some other factor, it could be more punitive than I think maybe is necessary. So I wanted to suggest that we just we keep the budget the same, but we allow the different categories within the budget to be fungible so long as we don't exceed our budgeted amount. If that makes sense. Councilmember Bradshaw.
Yeah, I agree with that because I think that we all serve in different ways, and that's a good opportunity for us to each show up and utilize those funds the best way that we see fit, that's most effective for how our roles in this position. So are you making a motion to amend?
Is there other discussion on that?
I have all kinds of questions.
All right. Well, I'm just trying to go through one thing at a time.
Okay.
So it would be,
if you did want to make a motion, what would that motion look like?
it would be I need to find it exactly. I'm sorry, I was reading this on the plane here. So
It's in section 6B.
6B.
yeah, so each member of the city council shall be responsible for monitoring and ensuring that city-related business expenses incurred or planned to be incurred do not exceed the approved budget for the expense line item. A monthly expenditure report for cost centers pertaining to mayor and council members shall be provided to each city council member to assist in the monitoring of the expense line item budget status and remaining available funds. I think all of that is good, and then we would just add a line. If one item is exceeded and there is capacity within another item, except legal, I would actually want to say except legal, that finance understands and will continue to approve so long as the total amount is not exceeded for a fiscal year.
So when you say except legal, what does that mean?
I actually want to take legal. This isn't a budget question, so it's not in here.
Okay.
So I really don't like having each council member, because it made me think of your question when we were doing our budgeting, and I just hadn't had time to really process it. I know what staff was thinking when they were trying to do that. They were trying to be more accurate in their bookkeeping, but I don't think that that's really what we need to be doing, because we're not individually monitoring a legal budget. It's just a way that legal is sort of assigning things, and they can assign that in a report, and even Paige said she doesn't assign it to that level of detail anyway. So it's all going to get worked out from a budgeting standpoint, but I don't want us to think, oh, that part of our budget hasn't been used, so we can use that for mileage reimbursement or something like that. That's the outlier. Everything else is sort of fungible, I think, but it shouldn't be legal. But we did this year, we did create legal cost centers, and it's outside of the scope of this item for us to change our budget and move that legal fund out. So I just wanted to exclude it. So I actually did I say a motion and it was seconded?
No, I was asking if
You were asking, okay, yeah. And then, right, okay. So that's the way I would do it.
Okay, so for that item, it says that we're going to be responsible for monitoring and ensuring that the city-related business expenses incurred or planned to be incurred do not exceed the approved budget. So how do we got to just start, how does that look? How will we know? Because I really,
He's going to send monthly reports to us all.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
Perfect. With all of our numbers on that.
Yes.
And
Yes.
where is that at?
I don't have a sample here, but
Okay.
you'll have a line item monthly report.
Right.
of what you
Okay.
have spent and what's available.
Perfect. Okay. I'm okay with that.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to amend this policy and add a line in section 6B to consummate this discussion and to allow for different cost centers to be filled up such that one cost center may be exceeded so long as the total budget is not exceeded for any council member and excluding legal. Motion by the mayor, seconded by Councilmember Bradshaw. Is there discussion on that motion? Councilmember Parsley.
I just have a quick question to make sure that I'm understanding right. So we have budgeted an amount for subscriptions, correct? So if I don't use my subscription, and I think that's like $5,000, can I add that to, what you're saying is like, I'm gonna be able to add that to something that I actually utilize?
Correct.
Like
And
if
that
I
was what
were
Ms.
to-
Burke was actually recommending. Yeah.
Like if I want to go and take a class or trainings and I have already exceeded that amount, is that something that makes sense to everyone?
Yes.
Okay.
Councilmember Tipples.
That was the point I was going to make, is that if you're not using a certain amount of line items, like you said, subscriptions or whatever, or training, but you travel more, whatever, as long as you don't go over your required amount for each council member, is what we're getting at, to where you can be able to be fluctuating, because again, people serve in different terms. Some people travel, some people maybe take online classes, people may want to go, to a conference. I know I did last year or year before where I went to the Capitol and made a description on that. So it's just maybe fluctuating, using that money or the funds, as long as you don't go over a certain amount and you have the accurate receipts or any kind of invoices that you have that make sure it matches. I think it'd be to where the citizens can see what we're doing.
All right, any other discussion on that motion to amend? Councilmember Parsley.
Last one. I think it's a smart thing to do. I think everybody does council in a different way, and we put priorities, in different sectors. So, thank you for bringing that up.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries 5-0. Anybody have any other items? Councilmember Flores-Cale.
All right, Perez. I'm sorry. I'm just say sorry because I have a lot of questions. I have a lot of things I want to talk about.
Okay.
And I thought of all these questions with fairness in mind. So even though I'm sad that I'm not going to get a lot of things, I understand that we're all going to sacrifice. So to get started, does this policy, I couldn't find anything that addresses Uber, like Ubering?
It doesn't specifically say Uber, but if it's related to travel, it would be acceptable expense.
Okay. And then one of my biggest concerns is this policy significantly increases the duties of our city secretary. And I'm really worried about that because, I'm worried about that. And so I'm thinking, is there anything that we can do to do an online system so we could fill out forms and upload receipts? And then that way they're sent to her electronically instead of, we could hand in the hard copies as well. I usually do that. But I feel like this policy puts a lot of work on staff in general, but especially Jennifer.
I don't feel bad about it.
What?
May I say something?
No,
Yeah.
you raise a good point. It does have more paperwork, more administrative requirements. Now, whether it goes through city secretary's office or it comes directly to finance, it'll be about the same amount of work. So we can, if council desires, we can funnel it directly through the finance department rather than the city secretary's office.
That's up to you guys. I just think it's just a lot. And even if we could, Jerry, try to find a way to fill out forms online. I know there's a couple exhibits in the back. And if we could find a way to make those electronic, and so that way it's all already computerized, including any kind of receipts that we need to hand in. Although I do think that we should hand in hard copies as well. Okay, and so then going to 5B, and I think this pops up a couple times. about majority vote. My question, what I'd like to see on here is who is going to place this on the agenda?
That was actually what I was going to bring up next. So, Councilmember Parsley, go ahead.
So, to your point, I believe that it shouldn't be that much work if you have all your receipts organized, and like that's normally what I use. I will organize them and highlight and put them in order and the description. It shouldn't be that much. Of course, I'm not doing the job, so Jennifer could talk about that. And number two, I believe that 5B, as I recall, is the city manager that will bring that item. Correct? I believe that's what was
Well, that was in the original
The
motion,
original,
which we
yeah.
discussed. Yeah.
So, any thoughts, Jennifer, on how much work we're putting on you, or?
It's your time to be honest.
Honestly, I don't think it's that much more work. I combed through this pretty thoroughly and sent all of my, clarifications of, does this mean that I will do this kind of items to Pervez? And so I have a good idea of what's required. And I mean, maybe it's a little bit extra work, but I think overall it's a lot more organized.
Okay.
If I could just add to that real quick. Many, many moons ago, I remember working for a software company, and I used to see the sales guys come in, and they had to turn in their monthly sales receipts. It's the same concept as you have on the travel expense claim form. Every month, wherever they went, whatever they bought, whatever they ate, they specifically said, receipt number 1, here it is, here's the total amount, and so forth. And it was their responsibility to get that all turned in with everything on that end. So that way, I remember, I think her name was Kim, all she would do is just look at the form, just match the receipts and the total, and it was done. But I think there was a lot on the responsibility of the executive sales guys to have that form that was due, I think it was either every month, and they would do an audit every 3 months, every quarter, to make sure that all their numbers were matched up accordingly. Maybe that's what we need to do on our end. Because, we're saying we're putting a lot of work on her. Yeah, we don't want to be just nickel and diming. Here you go, here's a receipt for this, here's a receipt for that. Maybe make it more efficient to where it's due at a certain time, and it is up to us as council members to make sure that we list every line item what we did, whether it's food, whether it's travel, and then connect all the receipts and add them up, and then the balance should be correct.
And Councilmember, that's how this policy is written.
Yeah.
The ownership and responsibility is on individual council members when you travel. At the end of your travel, you have so many dates.
Yes.
You complete the form, you complete the information, and then you submit. So it's not like just handing receipts to the
Yes.
city secretary and let her figure it out. The responsibility under this policy is on individual council members.
Exactly. Thank you.
So to that, a couple things. First is the travel expense policy. There is a line in there that says if you travel, then the city secretary shall put an item on the agenda. Can you point me to where that is, Pervez? I'm sorry, I'm trying to find it. Which is, I believe, an attempt to try to be compliant with the previous direction of council that we want whenever we're doing certain types of traveling, we want there to be a report given to the dais, which I'm trying to make sure we do, but
That's under section 8, Mayor.
Right, so it's upon receipt of the travel expense claim form, the city secretary shall immediately place on the agenda of the next regularly scheduled city council meeting an item for the member of the city council to provide a briefing. And just something about that I didn't really like the fact that it was the city secretary's responsibility to be placing items like that on the agenda. I think that's our responsibility to be compliant if we control the agenda by the charter. And so it should be us that makes that request per the council policy.
What about the city manager as well?
Well, so we need to be clear about what we're trying to do here. So there's all different kinds of traveling, and it's like sometimes it requires driving, sometimes it requires a hotel, sometimes it requires a flight, sometimes it's for training, sometimes it is economic development purposes, or is it a part of intercity trips with different organizations? There's all different kinds, and the main reason for us wanting to do items on the agenda is when we as a council are trying to go out and learn information. Something like from this body going out, like Edmond, Oklahoma, or if we're going to, I'm trying to think, we haven't done Greensboro or where was it, Peachtree City, those kind of things. They're council excursions that is what we're trying to have sanctioned by the council and have reports brought back on. So, for example, if one of us travels to TML or the National League of Cities or a planning conference, there was never in the scope of council direction to require that an item be placed on the agenda to give a summary of a council member's travel to a conference, for example. So this the way I'm reading it, would just, anytime you travel, and then what if you go to the city of Austin? What if you drive to Austin? This policy says, I guess if you got to, I don't know what it is, 75 miles maybe or something like that?
Sir.
Yeah. So Austin probably wouldn't count, but I just don't want it to, I love the travel expense policy side of it. I don't want it to be, unless that's what we're actually saying, compelled that an item gets placed on the agenda every single time a council member travels anywhere. That was not the direction that was given initially. It was not meant to be for things like conferences and those kind of things. But it would be like if we went to DC to meet with Aiken Gump or delegations, something like that, that would be yes. But if we went to the National League of Cities conference, that would be no, you're not required to go, and you're not required to get a majority vote of council to go. That's your discretion to go as a council member. But, so.
So how do we reword that then? How do we want that to look? If it's because we're saying, yes, we do to an extent want to make sure that it's being put on the agenda, but not to the extent that you're saying like training or seminars or meetings. But like if we go to Washington, D.C.
Right, and I don't want it to be Jennifer who decides.
Okay, so here's my concern with that. For
or
example,
Perez.
this is the problem that we fell into, is what if I just don't put it on the agenda? I don't see consequences written in this procedure. If I don't do that, I don't do that. And then what? So if we want to build in a consequence, I think that would be, and I would like to see that throughout, because these are a lot of procedures that are great, but there's no repercussions or accountability if we don't follow through with that. That's the one thing I've noticed throughout the whole policy.
I have a quick question to
Councilor
that.
Parson, go ahead.
So, and I know that you had your hand up, I'm so sorry. But if we are having a budget to do traveling or to take, courses or to do training, then would we still need to bring it up front? Is that what you're talking about? Like if we don't bring an item after doing a training, then is that what you're saying, that
Well,
that's
yeah,
not what
currently
you want
right
to
now
see?
it says that, if we're gonna do that, and then Mayor Mitchell was like, well, we don't need to do all of it, just like if we do certain things. And I was like, no, I agree, I don't think we need all of it, but my concern is, if we put it on there ourselves, if this policy says that the council member is responsible for doing that, but the council member doesn't do it, there's no accountability, there's no repercussions for not bringing that, even though it's in the policy, nothing happens.
Councilmember Bradshaw.
So I hear your concern, but at the end of the day, we are a judge of our own members. I think rather than putting it in a credit card policy, we should just be focused more on holding each other accountable. And honestly, I think it would be perfectly acceptable if I went on a trip and I didn't put it on the agenda, and you said Ashley Bradshaw went to wherever for whatever, to get updates or, hear information about the trip. I think that that's perfectly acceptable, and I think it's a more appropriate way to approach it than to put it in the credit card policy. It just seems misplaced here, in my opinion.
So how would we know when people go on trips then? So maybe that's the issue, is like, maybe we make each other aware, and then that way if you don't put it on the agenda, then we can hold each other accountable. But as it currently stands, I don't think people.
Well, but it would go
We're
on
gonna
the
get those monthly
website.
reports, so we'll have access to that information. We can see, I can see where you go, you can see where I go.
It's monthly reports, and it all based on the action that we took however long ago it's been. All of our expenses are posted on the council website. So there's no hiding what you do, what you're, what.
So should we remove that altogether?
I would like to take the part about requiring items to come before on the agenda out of this policy.
Okay.
There's already direction and a policy in place for if we do excursions, for that to come back, and we understand what that is. But I mean, a great example is TML's coming up. I know at least a few of us are planning to go. I do not think it is our intention, or should be our intention, to require an item be placed on the agenda for it. So I'd like to make a motion to remove section 8, starting at halfway down the word upon, the remainder of that section, including A and B.
Second.
Motion by the mayor, seconded by Councilmember Flores-Cale. Is there discussion on that motion? Councilmember Tobias.
Just real quick, I'll be very brief. When I used to bring this forward about wanting to know where people traveled, it was because there was task force that were involved. And there was a lot of information that certain council members or several council members could have shared that would have benefited. And I think it was just a matter of that for me. Is like, if you're going to travel, at least share it with us.
Right.
Please, if you went to Peachtree like we did, or if you went to Washington or whatever, that's all, water under the bridge. But I think my whole point was, if a council member traveled on their own or something like that, to say, hey, look, I put on an agenda, I went to go see this, I went to this conference, this is what I learned, this is what they're doing in San Francisco, this is what they're doing in Houston. I think it was just a matter of showing that kind of little small respect on that end, to say, hey, I am traveling on the city, but this is what I'm bringing back to the table. And that's really what I had originally wanted from the beginning, is sharing those stories, sharing those experiences. But then again, you're right. It all comes down to what Councilman Bradshaw says. We held each other accountable the way we do, and it's up to us to be able to bring that forward.
Okay.
All right. Any other discussion on that motion to amend? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Motion carries 5-0. Any other items? Councilmember Flores-Cale.
Thank you. Going back to accountability and consequences, I'd like to see some of those built in here, if you guys are amenable. But on G, let's see, section 6G, members of the council shall be responsible for paying back to the city for all unallowed expenses and for all unsupported transactions charged to the city-issued credit card. I would like to see a time on that. Is there a time limit, like if we could do 30 days, or, you got to pay back within a certain amount of time?
Or can it be discounted of the monthly type?
The time frame is spelled out in section 9.
9, okay. I'm not there yet. Okay, so here we go. So this is a section where I thought, wow, it would be nice if we could do this electronically. Because I was reading it, and it's a lot, it's a lot of steps. And I'm a little nervous because I don't know if enforcement in this section is done by the city secretary.
Well, it depends on the enforcement you have in mind. Because in the policy, if a council member does not comply, we turn off their credit card. We do not reimburse any expenses.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought this is got the most teeth I've ever seen because of that. They have all the power to just stop.
And if they don't pay back, then we deduct from your next paycheck.
Okay, I didn't know if it said the next paycheck.
Yes.
Let me see. Okay, so That reminds, 13D. Wait, is it D?
The deduction from paycheck,
Yes.
that is under section 9C, sub number 8.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to go into a little bit of details because I have a question for section, I think it's going back to 7, and it states that things, is it that the non-allowable stuff? There's some things in here that I use as far as a printer and ink. And so I'm not sure how, what should I just pay? Like, if this goes into enforcement, do I pay for this myself?
Yeah, so I would very much like to take that out. So I'm amenable to taking that out. I've got one I want to take out as well, that a business expense that absolutely I use, but.
Office supplies has been removed. It's no
So
longer.
it's 12, section 12, number 7. And I didn't know if it fell into that. Because it also, I think, let's see, desktop,
12.7 is strictly hardware,
well, and software, right?
yes. But not office supplies.
Okay. So then I can stick ink on my card.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay, I just want to make sure. And then I had kind of, so 12, section 12, number 10. I understand donations, but when it says organizations, I'm going to be honest, sometimes when I go to like HOA gatherings and they ask for donations or like they ask for National Night Out, they're like, hey, can you bring something for National Night Out? I mean, I'm walking a fine line, aren't I?
Well, I'm going to defer to the city attorney. As far as I'm concerned, donations are a no-no for
Okay.
city funds, but she can elaborate.
I mean, that makes me sad because it's literally their money.
But is that something that we can bring as an item if you want to donate for something?
No, he's saying we can't put it on the card, like,
No, but bring it to council for us to vote on donating something.
Well, we had that discussion at the vision workshop,
Yeah.
so that's kind of tiptoeing that line.
Well, it is interesting, the thought of using the council funds for it, because I was thinking about, a few years back at Fuentes, they were having a fundraiser, or I can't even remember exactly what it was, but I ended up buying breakfast tacos and handing them out. And I paid for it with my own money, but I thought at the time that, it had to do with the road, that's what it was, Filomena was being redone. And there was all this construction, it was the first day of school, and everybody was kind of like really struggling. And so we showed up with city people, there were city people there that helped, and I just brought tacos. And I was just thinking to myself, I could have used the city card for that. But the thing is, like, if it's just an unlimited amount of money, but what I like about this policy and the fact that we use cost centers, which is, I think, going to be a new way of thinking about this, but it's not unlimited. You have a budget. You got to follow what's within your budget. So I don't know the answer on charitable, because I don't know where that.
See, the example that you used, you're providing a meal or coffee to city employees working on Saturday or weekend.
No, it was,
That was
we
for
were
the
handing it
school.
out to parents and kids. It was like a bag of
Okay.
stuff.
So I'm going to let the city attorney
Right.
address that part. Donations with city.
Yeah, I think that, Paige Stein, city attorney for the record, I think potentially the danger, and it would be hard to probably just draw the line in a real consistent way, is where you get into an area of gift for public funds. And when that process comes to the council and the council reviews it and makes a grant of funds, that puts some structure around it so that you know you're getting a public purpose back, because that's the requirement for donating the funds, is it serves a public purpose. And then I think even going even farther from that is, it's at what point does a donation start to look like potentially like something else that you have to be careful about? So everyone's heart is in the right place on it. So I don't think anyone has the intention of going there, but when it doesn't go through a process to review, then it gets down the road of, is it a gift or is it something else? Or does it look like something else that is going to become an issue for the council?
Okay, so what about if we decide we want to be in the Halloween, the city Halloween? Can we buy candy on the card for that event, or is that considered a donation? I don't know, like, what does that look like? I don't mind spending my own funds, but when you got like 1,000 kids trick-or-treating,
It's a great question.
I'm very
That is
limited.
a very good question.
Well, the city's Parks and Recreation Department buys candies and other things that they give out during Halloween and other events. So,
So to that I say, I don't want to use their budget for me. I think that wouldn't be fair. And two, if I want to do it on my own, I don't necessarily want to depend on them to pick out what candy I'm going to give and whatnot. So although I agree, I try to be as active as I can in the events. And so it's kind of nice when I can just kind of have my own standalone tent or, a city council tent, and then we can hand out candy.
and see, to me, that would not be a donation. You're giving out to general public,
Right.
right? It's not to a specific organization or individual.
Or HOA. I guess that's my big deal. Like, it's nice when we can go to these national night outs and, in a way, give back to those communities by way of, I don't know, something. It just makes it a little bit more difficult to do. If we go to 5 or 6 different HOAs, and I give $20 or $30,
If I may interact, it would be like if I went to Paul's and I used a credit card for their fundraiser.
Paz doesn't pay taxes, but our residents do.
But-
So this money that
But
I have, I'm
it
giving
would
back
be,
to them.
yeah, I understand, but not everybody would look at it that way. I understand it gives back to the residents, but there's residents that say, why would you spend my money that way?
Right,
Yeah,
no,
or
so-
you could say
Or
the
the-
Law Enforcement Association or the Chamber of Commerce, these
Yeah.
different groups that interact with us politically. And, like there is some line that you have to be careful
You have to
with
be
not
very
crossing,
careful with. And I think a lot of times, I've mentioned this before, with my family and I, we sponsor events. We also give back to the community, but it's through our own funds that we do on that end. And yeah, I get it that, yes, specifically certain people that are nonprofit, they pay taxes, they don't pay taxes. But if I went to the VFW and just used my credit card to pay for a charity event or help pay for donuts or something like that, would that be kind of crossing the line a little bit?
No, I understand that. And if I would,
And then they're coming to us for not only sponsored events, but they're also coming to us for other related city matters. How would that look in that sense if the VFW came to us or the AMVETS and they came to us and said, we're asking for this, and we use swipe our credit card for whatever it is, versus using our own funds on that end? Just the perception, as like I always say, we got to be very careful.
no, I agree. If I was just going to like 1 or 2 events a year, I could understand that. But when you're active in the community and it's like gets draining financially to want to be there and to want to feel like you're giving something back, you're talking like 2 or 3 events, a month or so in large quantities, especially around Thanksgiving and Christmas or whatever events the city has. And again, I don't want to use other departments' money just because I don't know if I'm comfortable. I feel like that's harder on them than it is just to use our card. So no donations, and I understand that.
Right. Let's go back and forth because I've got one.
Okay, go ahead.
So actually, there's 2 that are in here, and I'm going to first, because I'm still not exactly clear, so I'll just ask Prevez what your interpretation of this is.
The tattoos.
So, what's that?
The tattoos.
The tattoos?
That was my complaint.
Actually, wait, no. All right. We got to focus. I'm super tired, so I could go down that rabbit hole with you if you wanted. If I was going to subscribe to the Austin American-Statesman, would that be something I would be allowed to do?
Yes.
It specifies for entertainment purposes.
You're all right.
In that clause.
That's okay. I just wanted to clarify so then I don't.
Like Austin Business Journal,
Correct.
Wall Street, Austin American Statesman, those are all acceptable expenses.
Hayes Free Press.
Yes, sir.
All right. So then the only one that I have left that I would like to see amended would be dry cleaning. And I don't know if y'all would be amenable to that, but
It's not in here, sir.
It's not?
No.
I just assumed it was. All right, well, I have nothing else to add.
Didn't even have to say that.
Wow, I know, I just outed myself.
So wait,
Please don't put it in.
We can get our clothes dry cleaned?
If
that
the
what
clothes
you're
that you use for business, then would be the
Yes,
case.
after
Yes.
the last discussion council had on special events, that y'all had to wear special clothing, suits. So after that discussion, I removed the dry cleaning.
Right.
Can I pay my water bill since I wash my clothes at home? I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
Wow.
Oh, I'm sorry. You still have more down here.
I'm
Yeah.
done.
Very well done, Professor.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Perez. Are you gonna bring back the, before we approve, bring back the amendments?
On the
It's
second reading.
Second reading,
Okay.
yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Do you have any more you want to add now?
No.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve as amended.
Second?
Motion by the mayor, seconded by Councilmember Flores-Cale. Is there discussion on that motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up, agenda item number 40, discussion regarding locations, dates, times, activities for the 2023 Council Visioning Workshop. I think it's very good that we're starting this discussion in September, because the last few years it's kind of gotten rushed there at the end, and so thank you for bringing this forward.
Mayor, Council, Jerry Hendrix, Interim City Manager for the record. As far as places, Amber and I sat down and kind of batted a few things around. We came up with 3 possibilities. One is the city of Katy in the Houston area. They have, they're a fast growth city. They have some old areas they're dealing with. They have some new development that incorporates parking garages and wrapping stuff around it. They have, I think a lot of things we'd be interested to see. So that was one possibility. The city of San Antonio is another possibility. We haven't been there. Just about everything you might want to see is available there, and there'd be lots of options. And then the third option, if you just wanted to seclude yourself somewhere in a nice place, kind of out in the nature, we thought the Hyatt Regency Lost Pines Resort and Spa would be a good opportunity for that.
But to be clear, there's nothing there to explore. No concepts or anything. Typically.
It would be more if you just wanted time together as a group.
Right, okay.
So those are the 3 options we've come up with. Certainly open to other suggestions.
Well, and as we're discussing, one of the other things I want us to consider is adding a day, because it feels like the structure of how we've done it in the past has been good, but we haven't had enough time to really get through some of the issues that we're trying to discuss and get through. So I know that's a lot, and I'm sure it's work. People think it's not. It's like straight up work while you're there the whole time. But adding an extra day, I think, makes sense. So we'd leave on Friday. So it would be, how it's been?
Yeah, can we do Thursday?
You'd have to leave Thursday. You'd have to basically miss one day, and it'd be Friday, Saturday, and then come back
In
Sunday.
the past, we've gathered Friday night. We've started work
Right.
Saturday morning, had some team building, concluded half a day on Sunday.
Right, so I would like to at least have us consider starting Thursday night, and then full day Friday, full day Saturday, half day Sunday. Councilmember Parsley.
So one of the things that maybe we can consider, I don't know if there is a 3-day weekend that we can look into, just because that will make it easier for people that have the 8 to 5 jobs to just request that day off. That might be something to consider. Second, are we allowed to bring up different places? There might be a discussion that might take place that we can consider some different locations.
Do you want to go into to discuss that?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then my last thing would be, oh my God, I just lost it. Well, yes, because if we wanted to do a team building activity, I would like if we take one day to really dig into council issues and coaching and team building real activities, so we can come the next day and have the real discussion. And I don't know if one day is gonna be enough for
Right.
that. So
That's
I am
kind of my
even
thinking
thinking
right.
Thursday, Friday, and Saturday to come back on a Sunday. I don't know if that would be too much, but
That's a lot.
okay.
Let's just add 1 day.
Okay.
Councilmember Tobias.
Okay, the first two, Katy and San Antonio, I can kind of get it. You know, you want to be able to see the progress that's made in Katy, some of the development that's going on that we can maybe relate to. San Antonio, as far as activities to do, is one thing to where if we decided to do a team building, but the Lost Pines in Bastrop is something that you just kind of clicked on when we went to Fredericksburg. Remember when we went there, Tracy? And it was just Saturday, nothing but just work, and got ideas. We just stayed there all day until we went to the other thing, but we came back. But we started first thing in the morning. I mean, we didn't have a team building that day. And I think the last couple of times, we got caught up with so much of that, I think, to where we were, I don't know how you felt, Mayor, we felt a little rushed.
I felt rushed. Yeah,
That we had to get all this stuff done, and we still had to have meals, we still had to have dinners. And I think if we just really focus to where it's an 8 o'clock Saturday morning, you know, meals already there, and we can really focus on the work and then break at noon and then have that hour or so break away from each other, you know, because we're going to need to get over crying or whatever it is, or, oh, okay, you know, Travis doesn't listen to me, but, you know, or whatever it is, or God dang it, Mike, you know, Mike to be, come on, Mike. But it brings, we were able to come back later on that afternoon and really get those goals. Because I think on Sunday, we always tend to like try to rush through it, right? Because we've got to get back home. So I think if we do that, to where if we arrive there Friday, we can have that afternoon to bond or go see whatever, or have a dinner. I think that having dinners really helps because we can be able to, we don't have to go somewhere. We don't have to be at a certain spot. We can have the dinners and just regroup and have that meal and then get ready for the next day and then just hit it. Because in Fredericksburg, it was my first time. I was like barely a couple days in the council, and I learned a lot. And I got to hear so many different perspectives. And I think that really helped because, and I brought this up to Travis, because less than a month later is when COVID hit. And when we left Fredericksburg, we were united. We saw each other's different goals. I kind of got empowered. I saw so many other people get refocused. And then when COVID hit, we came together like a team that I've never seen before. And we were able to get through a lot of that stuff. So I hope we can be able to do the same thing. But I think if we focus on a spot to where if it's on a Saturday, we just focus, just do nothing but work and vision, we can get a lot of things accomplished to where Sunday, when we come in the next day before we leave, we already have all our goals and our ideas ready to go.
Councilmember Flores-Cale.
Thank you. Can we maybe make a list of things that we want our city to like for me, I would like to go somewhere that has a nice transportation, maybe a bus system or something that we can like learn and utilize is to include infrastructure, whether someplace has a really great wastewater or roads. It would be nice to incorporate that into the vision workshop as well.
Well, I will say without going too much into detail, I don't know that we have to necessarily go. I was thinking that we might go someplace that has experienced some success building community center. So, as a sort of a focal point, how do they do that and spend a little time really getting to know that aspect of it? And I don't want to go into any more detail, but
okay.
So that would be something I would like for us to consider. But I don't know that we've got that nailed down just yet.
Are we choosing a date already or no?
We haven't talked about a date yet. I think February works really well to get those priorities and visions kind of incorporated and ready for the budget process that begins in March or April.
So there's President's Day.
The first weekend of February? Because I know the following weekend again, it's Super Bowls.
And don't do it on Valentine's Day.
No, I learned that lesson.
No, we can't.
And it was Super Bowl, so.
So like the 3rd through the
5th? to where we all arrive, whatever location. We leave Thursday, and then Friday we have,
Yeah, we'll call it the 2nd through the 5th. And we do have council meeting on the 6th, or I'm sorry, the 7th.
No, I thought we said we weren't gonna do that again.
the 7th.
That was a lot. The last time we did that and we came back and we said we weren't gonna do that again.
We can move the council meeting.
To next week?
Yeah, to the 14th.
That's
We have the power.
Valentine's
Yeah,
Day.
we did it.
Or we can move it to, there's,
Can we do it on is the 20th too far out? I mean, the 20th, President's Day is that Monday.
What Monday?
The February 20th, so I don't know if anybody sees that as a holiday.
Well, I would just assume what would be on the 7th agenda. If there's a lot of things that we could get done beforehand in January, to where we could keep that 7th
light or just
light, or just
cancel it.
like we've done before on.
Yeah, the experience we have with canceling meetings, which we can certainly do, is that makes the meeting before, and particularly the meeting after, very heavy. And we can do that, but that's just the experience.
We can do it.
Yeah.
It's better. It makes it heavier, but maybe it adds an hour as opposed to an evening, so. I mean, we did postpone quite a few items tonight, but we're getting better as a group at moving through things, so.
2 a.m. last time.
Did we?
Yes. 2:50.
I don't remember that. I've slept since then.
Barely.
All right, well, I think that's the 2nd through the 5th is still a pretty good date, frankly, so.
Is January off the table?
So
Well, the
Mayor-
end of January, maybe.
So the District 1 council seat, there's always potential for turnover, but that one's got a high probability of a runoff, which means that's a December election, and so it'd be good for them to have a couple meetings before we have the workshop. So I would be nervous about I think that I really do like that first weekend in February, because then they're going to get 2, maybe 3 meetings before the workshop, which is probably helpful.
Yeah, if we prepare for it now, we could be able to get a lot of those agenda items that y'all are working on. And I also know that it's beginning of the year, so maybe things are not as heavy until in March. I know in March we always have real heavy agendas, but we're just coming out of the holidays. But if there's anything that you know of that needs to be present, we can get it done in January, to where that day on the 7th, we can maybe have 25 items or maybe 30, and then we can go from there. And we'd be rejuvenized as well, where we'll be able to have our goals set. So do we make a motion, or?
No, I think they can, I
Figure
think
it
we're
out.
good with it for now.
Yeah, because that's true. Wherever
But we don't have a location yet.
We ever
so
decide, we gotta have location.
Let's have you maybe think about it some more and have some conversations with council, and then,
Sure. If y'all want to email us some of the things you want to see in whatever city we end up in,
yeah,
we'll try to identify where that is.
yeah. But we got the dates, so that's helpful. All right. Did we get through everything in exec?
No.
All right. I don't know which items, so someone else is gonna have to read it.
Just reread the whole thing.
And pursuant to Chapter 551 Texas Government Code, the City Council reserves the right to convene into executive session from time to time as deemed necessary during this meeting. City Council may convene into executive session pursuant to any lawful exception containing Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, including any of the following. We're going to go with Project Brown Bear and personnel matters. City intern. Is it? We're in executive session.
Order, time's 10:52. There's no action taken during executive session. There will be action taken now. I'd like to make a motion to direct staff to compensate the new interim city manager, Mr. Jerry Hendrix, in an amount of for his new role as interim city manager in an amount of $50,000 annualized, which is about $4,000 a month.
Second.
And hang on, I'm still making the motion. And to have that amount be retroactive to when he was first made acting city manager.
Second.
All right, motion by the mayor, seconded by Councilmember Flores-Cale. Is there discussion on that motion? Do you have any questions, Jerry, on that? All right, and then you're good with that? Yes, sir. Thank you. All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Motion to adjourn. Second. All right, we're adjourned.